Ladies and gentlemen, I am Pronago, and he is Iskatumesk, and we are about to embark on 2 more sets of Tyrant's Tale. The upper bracket is dead ahead, as TopRamen will take on Mystery Meat, and then in the lower bracket after this, it'll be ArbuzBudesh against Veek7. Mesk, how are you today?
2 Tyrant's Tales is 3.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
That's 3. Well, I just woke up probably like 20 minutes ago, and I've been doing a lot of casting as of late, finishing up the Heroes of the Storm stuff. I think I got maybe 20, 30 replays to go. So, yeah, that's, well, there's been a lot of casting as of late, that's for sure.
That's right, and you are the trusty, reliable man for the job of joining me for these ones as well. So it's obviously a little different going between the Heart of the Swarm stuff, or sorry, Heroes of the Storm stuff. Can't just miss an opportunity to remind Blizzard that they fucking named something twice.
Yeah.
And,
their own brand recognition is kind of confused. That's because they wanted to call it Dota, right? Like, that's why they...
Or Blizzard All-Stars or whatever.
So take it. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. And it's really strange because there is like one janitor that's working on Heroes of the Storm still, and they're still releasing patches to this day, and it's like bug fixes and quality of life and like minor balance stuff. And there's been an unusually like high trend of fairly productive patching that only occurred after Browder and friends were fired. So it really makes you think.
It really does make you think. Of course, Starcraft will never be patched, but if you want a patched game, you can always check out Cosmonarchy. It's pretty cool. And we're about to...
Yeah, the rest of their products are completely dead in the water.
Yeah.
It's all up to the end users.
Yeah. And we shall. But not today. It's going to be a little while longer before we're ready to completely end the tournament. I will say, though, this Terran versus Terran we're about to bear witness to, it's TopRamen, who just fought against Hamster in very action-packed TVTs, versus Mystery Meat, who hasn't really shown much TVT. He did defeat Shopkeeper Dog in a 3-game set to qualify into the I believe that was his actual qualification match. Yep. And so that was how he got here. So, it's pretty good stuff overall, all things considered. He was able to get there into the qualifying spot where he then took it away from Veek, sending him down to the lower bracket. And then Dog, unfortunately, couldn't make it past Veek. And so Veek got in here as the second seed from the qualifier. And so, like, going back a little bit, you can see Mystery Meat having some ranked wins over Terran. But even those games were very... maybe shaky isn't the right word, but it just felt a little bit different than what I saw out of TopRamen, who seems to have his game plan, and it does involve Quarry first. So I really wonder what we're about to see when we kick things off here on Maxium, our first map. I will say that it is worth pointing out the winner of this faces off against Hit 'em Up. And that is a difficult ask, but if it's TVT all the way for TopRamen, maybe he can do it. He's been practicing with Hit 'em Up a lot, so maybe he at least knows him. Mystery Meat, on the other hand, is a bit more of a wild card in that respect. So I'm very interested to see how that ends up taking shape. But either way, I think we're going to have a strong contender for him. I guess it would be fitting narratively if it was Mystery Meat, because it's like, oh yeah, he's the old king now meeting the new heir apparent or something like that. But TopRamen's been around for a good amount of time too, and so I don't know. I think either one of these guys would be worthy opponents. It's just a question of which one of them is going to get past each other at this point. Kind of like I like to imagine it's like a group of peasantry like fighting over themselves to see who can get to the king and kneel in front of him or whatever. That's sort of the vibe I'm getting right now looking at it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine Mystery Meat probably practiced a lot for Nabliam, and maybe not as much in Terran versus Terran, but can't really say for sure because I haven't really been following. But it's people were looking for Zergs to compete again. They're also rare, and yeah, I imagine there was some focus on the Nablime aspect of it. But now we're looking at Terran versus Terran, which it can be very Tismistic. Lots of vultures and Tisms and Quarries first, and I'm still waiting for the Ministry first.
I'm sure somebody
copy
can
paste my FFA build where it was like Quarry into Ministry or Ministry into Quarry or something.
Well, there was that game we didn't see versus Shambler where Hit 'em Up went for a 5-minute Atlas to just spam out like really, really fast madcaps or something. I think that's what he said he did. Anyway, so it was absolute insanity to bum rush to the tier 2. So, that's what happens when you don't 7-pool. The guy just decides
That
to
brings us back into the day.
Yeah.
That was much more common way back because
Mhm.
they had the tier 2 rushes before their gas became really expensive.
So now we are standing tall in the modern era where nobody would ever in their right mind would actually do something like that, right? Wink, wink, hit 'em up.
Clearly.
But yeah, so as we get into this one, I will let you guys know about the map veto here before we start off our first set. Ramen banned Cold Sweat, not interested in that ice map. Meat,
Not sweaty.
Yeah. Well, it's top ramen. Ramen's got to be warm, Meat banned Blackwater Bastion, so that's 1 4-spawn map down. And before any others could hit the deck, Ramen made sure to pick Maxim as the starter. So I think this is good targeting from Meat so far in the veto, thinking, okay, I kind of understand that Ramen probably wants to play those 4-spawn maps, and Mystery Meat specifically, he's happier with the closer ones, right? And so I would say advantage Ramen in the first map, but with everything else most likely being a 2 or 3 spawn in the case of Rage Slave. That feels like Meat has a good chance just based on the veto. Meat ended up picking Genesis Y, so that'll be our second map. Our third map will be Impetus, so Ramen picking that one. And then Rage Slave will be our fourth. If we need a decider, it will be Paradise picked by Ramen, which leaves Oblivion out by the wayside. So that tells me that I think Ramen here is looking to really play the macro style, and he doesn't necessarily want those bigger maps. You look at Genesis Y and Rage Slave are the tighter ones, Cold Sweat as well. Cold Sweat gets banned, Meat picks the other two, but Ramen's picks are all either 4-spawn maps or, in the case of Impetus, the biggest cross distance in a 2-spawn map that we have. So that kind of just tells you a little bit about the preferences of the players. At least that's what I'm reading into it, of course. Maybe it's circumstance, but that's sort of what I would be thinking about from that perspective.
I think it makes sense. Hit 'em up is definitely more macro oriented. I mean, the Quarry first kind of goes for that. And,
Sure, yeah.
He will probably be aware of Meat's legacy of being very cheesy. That, well,
Yeah, he must have
kinda
seen
opens
that
himself up
series.
by going
Yeah.
Quarry first every single game. So there's definitely some Meat exploitation that can happen there. Also, since Mystery Meat is unidentified, he maybe doesn't want to be so close to him he can smell him, and his ramen might go rancid.
True.
And that can also destroy his soul. So there'll be some spiritual warfare here. You're definitely going to have to hold your Bibles close.
We'll see what kind of biblical plague is about to be unleashed, because Maxim is where we will begin. Top Ramen, Mystery Meat, squaring up in semifinal number 2. And here in the top left, we've got Ass Ramen. He is, I'm going to say the silver Terran. Holy shit, I'm good. And in the bottom left, we've got Mystery Meat as the Vivid Red Terran. Hell yeah, dude, I'm so good at this game. Anyway, these guys are actually good at this game, and they're going to be playing, so that's it. I've done my job.
We have vertical spawns, so no cross-map shenanigans here.
Yeah, that's right. Air units could be a factor if this goes to tier 2. Keep that in mind.
Yep. Well, I would expect at least one of them to get. I think Mystery Meat would definitely make use of the Seraph, just irradiating everything.
No Mason movement from Ramen. He's going Quarry almost certainly, I feel like.
Yeah, of course. Of course, Ramen also got Seraphs as well, but his control with them was not as encouraging as some of them have been. Like when Nablime has Seraphs, you know they're just going to be constantly harassing you, but sometimes Ramen sometimes would forget about his Seraphs, and he'd have to kind of remind himself. But definitely as far as overall macro was concerned, he's definitely pretty strong. But Mystery Meat showed that he was able to do pretty solid macro as well. There was a little bit of struggling, but not nearly as much as I would have expected given his long hiatus. At least in my case, it's definitely the macro that suffers whenever I go back to an RTS. The micro you kind of never really forget, but the macro is definitely the harder thing to keep on tabs because of the multitasking. But Meat was looking pretty solid in the last matches, so I imagine he'll be... I mean, given the fact that Mystery Meat took many games, I think it was against Veek to tier 3, he just would go to tier 3. I think he's pretty comfortable going the long game if Ramen wants to give him it. And I think he'll be more eager to hit tier 3 than a lot of the other players are. A lot of players, it's like they float tons of money. And they could just dump that into tier 3 and then come back in a couple of minutes and be like, okay, now I have game-ending units.
Right.
But they don't often actually do that. It's not very common to do that. But Meat will do that. So it's definitely something you got to be very wary about when you're going for the longer game like this.
Ramen is dialed in. He peaked at over 1,000 APM for a moment there. So he's been spamming it up, getting warmed up in this first match. Mystery Meat has scouted his opponent last, and actually the secondary Vulture here is even going to shoo away the Mason. So there's no confirmation of what Mystery Meat's actually up against. Now this is a good little flourish here mechanically by Mystery Meat to charge forward. He is flummoxed a little bit with the mine hits, but he will get away with a 5 HP Vulture, only to inevitably gets bopped by the follow-up there. So that's that's the second Vulture coming out for Ramen and picking him. He's got to assume now that based on scouting the other close position and the direction that the Vulture came, that Mystery Meat is south of him. But so positions will be known by both players, but not the exact tech or follow-up, right? They just know they can presume there's a Quarry. They know there's a Fulcrum. That's all the information that either one has right now.
Well, their builds look pretty similar at the moment, with the exception that Ramen is slightly ahead on workers. Lobsters.
Courtesy of the classic move of going for your Quarry first. Vultures are going to go ahead and tickle each other. I like the feint for Mystery Meat. Yeah, he's trying to like pull the Vulture towards him. And in fact, he's actually going to get it. But will he focus down that one unit? Looks like he will.
Trade.
Yeah, it's still favoring Mystery Meat right now in terms of tempo. They're dancing at each other, trying to see what they can do, but actually that ends up depriving Ramen of a single shot on the Vulture. So, we were talking about this earlier, how, the Vultures are a pretty core unit for the opening of TVTs, it seems like. But we've got a Ministry on location here for TopRamen, and he is also going to go ahead and Watchdog scout his opponent. Nice stun there to make sure that these Vultures end up feeling the burn. But it's still going to end up with like a single Mystery Meat Vulture with 5 HP, so I don't know.
It's this tism that they opt into.
Yeah.
Like, they just trading constantly.
Well, I like this little opportunity here. No shot is fired by that Vulture. It is going to go ahead and frontline, now fighting back. Seeing if the focus fire can be there, but it's not there for Ramen. Not great reflexes there, and you know what? Doesn't dare the minefield. Doesn't know if there's other ones behind it, so decides to fall on back. While the Watchdog spies nothing back here except the second Fulcrum coming in. Mystery Meat has been thinking about taking his Ministry, but he goes for a Treasury instead. So he will definitely be at a worker deficit here because this Ministry for Ramen is almost complete.
Yeah, Ramen's definitely, he got his expansion done faster, and it was more expensive. And he was ahead of workers until... Okay, now he's just slightly ahead again. So they're very close, but Ramen's expansion is definitely coming up much faster. No. There's just Vultures scurrying around everywhere, mines in random places. I don't think either player is going to be too intent to do a major ground push for a while, but we do see 2 Palladiums coming from Meat, in addition to a Stockade, so I'm thinking he's going to try to bust this before we go into Tier 2. He's going to very possibly go for just Mass Goliath or something like that, it looks like. That's going to be my guess, is like Goliath, Cleric, Goliath, Shaman or something. Maybe with some tanks behind it. At the very least, he might be doing the same thing he did against Veek, where he just went all Phalanx. But
yeah.
I mean, I guess he could. Like, Ramen is getting a star pad, but it's not very common for him to go mass wraiths. So he might be like reading into that, and he's like, okay, well, you can scout it with your flying Watchdog. I don't really care. But it does kind of tell him there is indeed one Goliath coming.
Yeah, that's going to shoot down the Watchdog almost certainly. Extra resources gathered. It's all Vespene, really, as the focus for Mystery Meat. He saturated that more than the minerals, which tells me he doesn't really want to spam out the Phalanxes too much. Now, upon scouting that it's Cyclops as a little bit of a transition point here, with the 3 Fulcrums producing nothing but Cyclops, this is actually a little bit dangerous for Ramen if the Phalanx count gets too high, because they kind of just, in tank mode, walk up and destroy Cyclops. You don't really get too much out of that.
Oh,
speaking of, nice little lobotomy mine synergizing with the Phalanx shots there.
Yeah, there's a little contain going here, but Meat is not really going to move out yet anyways. He might build a Shaman first just so he can start detecting these, because we don't have a star pad at the moment. But he's not really too intent to move out at the moment. I thought Ramen might actually try to bust him early, but I think he realized, wait a second, I don't want to do that. There's mines everywhere. Instead, he's got the Trojan coming with 3 Cyclops. That's 3 eyes.
This one Goliath just on hold position, tickling stuff. Uh-oh.
No.
Gotta watch out for that, though. The friendly fire off of the Phalanx shot as well. That's going to be more than enough. And yep, the 3 Cyclops drop is incoming. There's enough units over here to stop this from doing critical damage, but really it depends on the reflexes of Mystery Meat, yeah. See how fast he's is in responding to this. It's on his map
go.
now. He hasn't noticed it yet. He's
Hi.
okay. There you go. Pulls the workers away. So not too bad actually. Hasn't really suffered any damage.
Yeah, he had them moving even before the Cyclops even came out.
Yeah.
So there's almost no point in even dropping them. It was like, oh, okay.
Right. Yeah, you might think
Yeah,
about
he's gonna
trying to
pull him
pincer the rest of it, but you know that the phalanxes are already set up and entrenched. So
Yeah, there's enough mines in the front. He can't really try to bust this. So at this point, the drop has done just a tiny amount of... Oh, but he's going to pull out. And this can grab by the balls. Oh,
yeah,
they're
no real damage. It's just a couple of the main hits. No watchdog has
I
been
think he
assembled.
needs to drop some mines here when the Trojan leaves.
Yeah.
And then just prevent that from happening again. There is another drop in the natural. They killed a couple of gas harvesters. They might be able to get behind here in this little nook, and Meat's getting a little caught here, but that first drop died terribly. He didn't drop the other ones in the bottom there, which could have done a lot of damage. He's going to try to grab them as they were blossoming in that, but unfortunately, the Cyclops had their own targets. They all ran out in every direction, and all of them dropped and died.
There is still one
a lot of
in
potential for damage
in that
there,
first
but-
Trojan, but it's only now going to start hitting. I like what Ramen was doing there, though. He did get a lot of his money tied up, by the way. He's got 1,500 minerals. His Atlas is halfway done. His macro is off the chain with his third base, already done with a quarry. So he's been focusing on other things at the same time. But one of the reasons why he dropped in the mineral line wasn't just to do some damage with the Cyclops. It was hoping that Mystery Meat still had his phalanxes in siege mode. And in fact, he will end up losing at least one Mason over here due to all those hits.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, he lost a couple of them. There was... If Ramen was a lot snappier with his control, I think he actually could have killed like 30, 40 workers there, because when his second dropship was flying over the mineral line, I thought he was going to drop it kind of behind the minerals and that ledge there, and then focus fire the workers, because both bases where the workers were bunched up there, there could have been a lot of damage because a lot of them were already kind of injured. But unfortunately, the Cyclops, first he dropped up top, and that didn't do anything, and then he came back down and dropped, and then the Cyclops all fanned out everywhere else. So there was a little bit of a botched opportunity there that could have done massive damage. That said, that did tie up Meat for a little while, but his army has been growing in the entire time, and we even have some blackjacks.
Yeah, so the actual punch that this army can provide could knock Ramen on his heels and just flatten this third base. I mean, he's got the anchors here and some mines, but the Shaman can deploy for basic detection. Blackjack has been left over to deal with this one Trojan, but there's actually nothing in there.
I noticed nothing came out of the one that died.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's nothing in them.
Well, there we go. He's going to go ahead and fall back with a deployment. That's a big opportunity for Ramen to have fallen back himself and delay this a bit longer. It's not going to end up happening, though.
Well, a lot of vultures died, so that's going to really hurt.
Yeah.
Ramen doesn't have a big military at the moment. He's really just relying on the mines to delay as long as possible. And again, only the Shaman is here for detection at the moment. He's got his own phalanx, so if he wants to deploy this, he's going to have to either pull in some bait or get the cleric out there healing the Shaman to tank a little while, but instead he's going to just kind of chill out for a moment.
Watchdog spotting for the phalanxes as well. By the way, the third base is only now coming online, or being put down by Mystery Meat. The fourth is already up here building a quarry for Ramen. He is on top of the macro. He skipped the treasury in the middle because he can just do that later on. He wants to see if he can establish some kind of presence up in the top right. This is sort of his game plan.
Well, he's already got tier 2.
Yeah,
so
exactly. He's got
wants the
cataphracts
gas.
coming. Look at his base. He's got so much production. It's not working right now. Like, he's not making much, but like he's actually got a crazy amount of infrastructure. So we're gonna see this military turn in terms of what's effective and what the big numbers are very soon. I think.
Yeah, Meat has to breach this wall pretty quick here, or he's gonna be facing a very difficult army. That said, Ramen's units are kind of dying terribly.
Yes. Yeah, this
At
is
the end of
this
the
is
day,
awful.
it doesn't make a big difference as long as his bases are alive, because the worker deficit is so huge that they're not worth a lot to him.
Yeah.
As long as he keeps the tanks off of his base, he can afford to be a little clumsy, but he has to make sure that his actual expensive units don't die similarly.
Well, all the chaff is gone for both sides, but some phalanxes did die. There was one phalanx death on Ramen's side, one on Meat's. Plenty of workers in that top right base. The stockade is going to go ahead and lift off as the sort of Meat shield / scout for Mystery Meat. Yeah, no kidding. And then he's actually kind of spiked his mineral income with that base in the bottom at 6 o'clock. So he's not out of this game yet. He is behind in workers and behind in gas mining especially. but he's currently ahead in terms of tempo, like his positioning is better.
I was going to try to breach this without having the cat facts on point. They're getting caught up in this.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Tanks are going to take a ton of damage in the process here.
Yeah, there's a second Shaman over here, but it should end up getting sniped out. It's only got 15 health. Yeah, it's going to get hit eventually.
He took a lot of shots off of the rest of the army, though.
Yep. So not as much healing as you might have expected. Now, basically, there's just the four original phalanxes. Yeah, they're on attack move, and they do not destroy structures very fast. So that's going to be it for some of the advanced tanks that Ramen has put down. He's adding captaincies, and you know what? Like, he's got money, but not really that many units being produced right now, right? So he has gone ahead and put down some sentinels. He's going to secure the top right main, now having the natural up and running in terms of mining. So still trying to extend his play there in terms of the macro.
He's capped his gas. You know, you could be looking at a situation where Ramen does to Meat what Meat did to Veek.
Yeah.
He could go to tier 3 in this kind of situation, especially if he's able to put any pressure on the sides to stop Meat from getting too much of his own money and getting too much momentum behind this. He could just go straight to tier 3, build a die down, and be like, okay, well, you may as well tap out GG now.
Well, this one Vulture could cause a little bit of flummoxing here in the third, but...
Meat tier 2 yet.
Yeah, Meat is stuck on the single base right now, pumping out blackjacks and phalanxes. That's the predominant comp that he's going with. And so far, it is kind of working for tempo, but eventually the cataphracts are going to get to a high enough number that if you don't have a critical mass of phalanxes...
There's 6 of them already.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some pain here. It really depends on the positioning. Cataphracts are better at sieging if you can get them into the right position, which obviously is a little bit easier to do with those units relative to phalanxes that have to lock down an area. And there hasn't been much Vulture investment here for Mystery Meat. He has no mines. He barely even saw this army move before it was kind of too late. And now he's starting to unpack all of his phalanxes in the middle, but Ramen sees that, so he can fuel that into his decision-making.
His army is getting a little separated here, but he can just kind of set up in this choke point, and now Meat has to send in the blackjacks to fight the 300 HP cat packs. Well, some of them are starting to die to tank fire. The Ministry is the real thing he's got to kind of protect here.
Yeah, he's not repairing it right now, and the phalanxes are starting to target it as well, so the splash damage would just be gross. A lot of the cataphracts have fallen, but definitely worth taking that base. Bottom right natural is being taken by Mystery Meat, but it feels very late. Instead, he's going to pull the trigger on a push, saying, you just donated so much of your army to me. Sure, I gave you a couple of things back in trades, but the one problem is he hasn't deployed the Shaman to try to deal with all of these mines, so it's really slowing his approach down.
The Shamans are just taking the front. Like, they got 120 health. They can take a few shots, so they've kept healthy through this, and it's mostly low-level units that are dying here.
The phalanxes that came up from the bottom for Ramen are really pulling their weight here. This would have been a really dangerous push for Mystery Meat to pull off, but unfortunately, Ramen's reinforcements do come back from the third really fast. So good decision-making, I would say, from both players, but particularly from Ramen here. It's really hard for Mystery Meat to really get himself out of this rut.
He's got so much mileage out of that tank push, though.
Yeah.
Like, keeping in mind he's up against a large number of tier 2 units. He managed to kill all the cat packs. Thinning that out is really important. And now, although it's been costly, he's going to get rid of all these phalanxes, and he's inched ever closer to this production and base by Ramen. If Meat is able to actually, like, very confidently set up shop here, he can't be forked out of that side anymore. It makes the whole game a lot safer for him.
Yeah, no kidding. He's kind of isolating it. He has no real idea that Ramen's taken the top right. He has no exploratory area.
He sent there was a Vulture or something that went up there, or a Blackjack.
You can tell because the Sentinels have moved, so and one of them is a kill.
So he knows there's something up there he can safely assume. Okay, you have that.
Okay, this is good information.
He can't really afford to push it at the moment.
Yeah, he needs to secure the front outside of the third and hopefully maybe even just flatten that base. He's probably seen the captaincies at this point, so now we're starting to see the data law almost finished. The starport is done. Does Meat even have an Atlas? There's no Atlas. Ramen's about to be a tier 3.
Yeah, this is...
there it is.
Looks like he's going to get the Seraphs. He doesn't even need to really do a lot with them. Just either nukes or just some irradiates can really help a lot. He does have an anvil coming.
Yep.
So it could just be defensive nuking. But I mean, the dad is up. He can drop down some... Oh, he's getting a nanite assembly. But I mean, he could drop down a diadem near that ramp in his main. And that will keep his nat very, very safe.
No kidding,
and that third will be very safe.
Well,
there's lots of Akhmed.
Yeah, there's some contest happening over here towards this 12 o'clock treasury, which Ramen has actually ignored so far. That might be something that Mystery Meat has over him, right? And the worker count isn't actually that consequential at this point. It's more about the base count when you get this high. and admittedly your saturation of with
Well,
those
what's
workers.
really important is the fact that Ramen has 2 gas caps.
Yes.
And he could get more if he wants to, but yeah, when that nanite assembly actuates, he could build. I mean, some Centaur would be fine about here, but I would personally just go straight to Hippogriffs because they will just shut this down instantly.
Yeah, the crazy. There's not much, anti-air within Mystery Meat's army. What can you
It's all
even make
blackjacks.
versus Hippogriffs? Your Goliaths are not going to be that good, and so some limited success happening over here with Mystery Meat's push forward, but he can't really push into where the phalanxes are. Now, at this point, Ramen is kind of sacking a lot of his units over there.
Yeah, I don't know if he really wants to go in here with all of his catfacts. Like, all he has to do is just wait. He just has to be patient, because if he loses too much, Meat's just going to unsiege and force his way in again.
Yeah.
And now, even though you have tier 3, if you start losing all of your income, it's going to be a lot harder to fuel it. But, I mean, look at the bases creeping down the side. This is massive Vulture, Blackjack, Achmed
No static
battle
defense
here.
in the bottom right either. So that the little tier 1 army that Ramen has sent off to, he's kind of pinched off that group of his forces and sent them across. He's going to eventually put down the stockade as well. So that's a little bit of a benefit for him. He's just going to be able to clear out some of the things that are providing vision for Mystery Meat's phalanxes. But as of right now, it's still working really, really cost efficiently for Meat.
That stockade's giving him some vision on the catfacts. He's slowly chiseling down. Like, Ramen's army never quite reaches a large size because it ends up dying terribly. But we do have
Achmed.
a Seraph sneaking down the left side here.
Yeah, Achmed over here in the bottom right natural
Oh,
as
he
well.
ran right into a Seraph. We'll see if Meat spots that or not. It's taking actually quite a bit of damage.
Eesh. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure because that was at the same time of other actions were going on. So you know what? This
does
is
have
two
tier
different
2
bases.
finally.
Okay, we're getting somewhere then. We'll see what he wants to use with that. Nice meaty hits here, but the Magnetar is about to start causing a ruckus. Could definitely Yamato down these phalanxes and be a quick game changer here. Let's see what Mystery Meat even reacts to with that because he only just finished his Atlas, man. There's a Yamato.
Here comes the Blackjack Magnetar battle. Everybody!
Oh my God! Look at this. This is actually working really good for Mystery Meat. It will be brought down by the Blackjack Shaman combo. Nuclear Missile is going to go ahead and go live. The Morningstar landing in the 3rd that was destroyed earlier.
No, Meat. His Meat's getting cooked.
As Blackjacks are starting to push through all these Sentinels, so they are causing a bit of a ruckus. The Phalanx is coming in to reinforce that position. This is still anybody's game somehow. I really thought Ramen was going to run away with it. Oh, great stun there. That's going to allow the Sentinels to pick off a lot of those Phalanxes. That's buying time.
There's another Magnetar on the way, but I mean, Blackjack's counter tier 3.
Give me that stockade.
Yanking over the stockade.
That's mine.
That's going to affect his vision.
Yeah.
It's also going to hang out the Magnetar forever. It's not even going to be in the fight.
Hey, he's pulling it into the Watchdog. Oh, never
There's
mind.
nothing
Pulling
in
out of
the
the Watchdog.
Lodestone.
Into the Watchdog and out of the Watchdog. Yeah, the Lodestone was empty.
It's just bouncing around.
Yeah.
He's like, wait a second. What the fuck's going on here?
All right, so the Phalanxes
Why
across
Why are you killing the stockade? There's another stockade.
Yeah, the Phalanx reinforcements from the south there, that's working out real nicely for Mystery Meat. I can't believe he's still in this game. We've got double Morningstar being made. Yamato onto the Shaman to get rid of that. And another stockade. Inside yet another one.
For a while. Oh, the Masons.
Yeah, this is going to be a good target there.
Meat has ascended the Mason count.
He has, only temporarily. The nuke is going to change everything. Mesk, I'm going to watch Neblime die in real time.
Oh, no!
Oh!
Meat looked over there just in time to see this massacre.
I can't believe it.
He needs to build a diadem. Where's the diadem?
That's what I want to know, yeah.
He's building only... Why is he only building Magnetars?
Oh my God, Seraph lives with 7 health. What is going on with the Seraph? He's gonna nuke the treasury too, I guess. Yeah, makes sense. Couple double Magnetar out now for double pulling the stockade. Finally, that's out of there. He really needs to use these heavy air units. This is what you were talking about, Hippogriffs and Centaurs. Both much better options than the Magnetar have actually turned out to be, it feels like.
I mean, at least stick a diadem on that ramp so Meat stops running around killing all your stuff, because Meat's gotten so much mileage out of an army that never should have been able to get close to at this point.
Yes, that's what it kind of feels like. Oh, that's Seraph getting focused down. Will not be casting Irradiate. And look at the full surround. The Blackjack Shaman Goliath comp actually is working on the Magnetars. And this is it. This is the problem, right? It's like their cost efficiency.
They're not really like a damage unit.
No.
You use them for Yamato more so than actually fighting.
Well, you can sync up with other things, too, if you're trying to pull them into your mines or something like that. That was a good Yamato there. But, yeah, so, okay, he is able to sort of rebound from that position.
Mead is finally building the dedicated anti-Magnetar unit, the Cyclops.
He's also building a Daedala. He's almost done. I'm trying to figure out where it is.
He's catching up. Give him some time.
That's
Let him cook.
Let him cook. He's only down 20 workers despite the nuking. So.
They're dying miserably.
Yeah, yet another anvil detonated down there, rather Morningstar detonated at 6 o'clock, so no more mining there. He keeps Yamatoing the Blackjacks.
But they keep coming. They're so wounded.
All right, GG's got to be called. Mystery Meat can't handle it. Too many nukes and too many Magnetars. Not the most efficient way of making your day there, but you know what? As a warm-up game goes, Ramen should be pretty warmed up after that one.
That was pretty... I thought Meat was still in the game.
I did too, yeah.
All the Magnetars were pretty low.
He just finished his Tier 3, and not that you even necessarily need Tier 3, because you can just go like Sundog or something like that for dealing with the Magnetars if you want. I don't know, there were options, but interesting game.
I think some Madrigals would have been fine, like just something just with a little bit more range, just to poke them. Like Eidolons would have been great. I'm actually kind of surprised that... Meat didn't go for Eidolons if he was going to stick in Tier 1 for so long, because the cloaking would have been so great for dealing with all these tanks and shit, because they can't do anything if they can't see you, so you can just like poke them down. And but he never... The thing I noticed is that he never made any ant seals at all, so the push kind of got slowed down for a while, and Ramen just kept sending units to their death very, 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 very efficiently. And I thought Meat was going to swing it around the moment he hit Tier 2 because he could get his own Seraphs and start being way more annoying, but the Magnetar count finally reached a stage where Mass Blackjack alone wasn't enough to kill them, but they did get very close. So many of them were below 100 health.
I know, yeah, you think maybe some better focus fire or something to that effect really could have changed the course of history there with that game. I have to say, man, like the the breadth of units that were on display was kind of interesting in that a lot of that
killed
game
over 400 units.
Yeah. And a lot of the kills that he got were with those phalanxes, like really good positioning there, and never really uprooted, right? Never really uprooted the actual presence of those phalanxes. So, I don't know, it's kind of interesting just seeing that. Like, this is maybe a weakness in TVT that somebody in who's going up against TopRamen as a Terran, which could be the case if he ends up taking the set. This could be something that Hit 'em Up would end up exploiting if that were the case, right? So I don't know. These are thoughts that I have about like what would you call it? The course of like a certain player's tendencies. And now we get to go to a 2-spawn map, more vertical spawns. This time, Mystery Meat's pick. It's Genesis Y for our second game. Remember, this is a best of 5. First to 3, the most important number, is indeed going to be the winner. We've got Mystery Meat here in the top right as the bronze Terran. Saddle Brown.
Got him.
God damn it. And then Ramen down here in the bottom right. Oh, man. Am I being debated? Because this does not look like silver. This looks like a different color. Is this silver? No, fuck, it's platinum. I never would have guessed.
Got him.
All right, well, I got 2-0 at the start, so I can afford to lose 2 color guesses here. But Mystery Meat can also afford to lose this map, but I would say he shouldn't for the sake of contrast in the narrative. And he's sending a very early Mason to the left side of the map here. And a second one as well. What's going on here? What's happening?
What kind of business is Meat up to? Maybe he just wants to check all the different spawn locations. He's never played this map before. He's got to make sure he knows where his opponent is, or that it isn't one of those replays where an observer is spawned as a player.
Yeah, that's a classic bug.
It's
a stockade.
It's just being safe.
Oh yeah, this is where his wall is. He's going to build a wall here and make Ramen pay
for it. His NAT, which just happens to be like 3/4 of the map.
Wow, and look at this. I mean, TopRamen is not going for his quarry first, so the timing here could actually be kind of bad. The second whoa! He was found. He found him. Wait a second. Did I double vision? Hold on. I got to do a double take. What's going on over here?
What is this?
What's happening
What
here?
is this?
Okay.
I can't build the quarry now. You know, that is going to make Ramen very, very upset. Very upsetty spaghetti. He can't build the quarry. He's got to build defenses. In fact, he's probably going to pull his worker off of the gas because he's going to need it in 5 seconds.
You know, we are going to see a second Maverick pop out by the time the Vulture gets down here. So especially if this Mason holds him up. So let's see what ends up happening. It's going to be an anchor. Immediately starts tickling that worker. At this point, Mystery Meat just wants to confirm, has it been Quarry first? And the timing of the Vulture is going to tell him, no, it was not Quarry first. He's going to put a little bit of damage onto that Vulture.
Initial damage on that Vulture could make a difference here.
Now, he can go for a stim. Once you have like 3-4 Mavericks, you can definitely stim that down. But once the anchor is in place, it is going to be a bit of a difficult ask. So it's a question of how long does he want to wait for? And he's pulled his other Mason back. He's not interested in pursuing this.
Meat has been harvesting gas here.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder, is he just...
He's just lifting.
He's abandoned. He's bailing.
Okay. All right. Never mind. And the Mason's going to see... Be like, wait a second. What? Huh?
Where did they go?
What's happened? He's going to catch a whiff of them, I think, on the way out here. But you know what? That does keep Ramen honest. The fact that Mystery Meat has shown that he will do that. But the quarries are still coming out at relatively similar times. So, hey, look, he found him.
There you go.
He found him.
You know, if he hadn't found them, I wonder if he just would like start searching the map forever, just thinking he doesn't want to get hell tricked.
Right.
So he'd be
just immediately start searching his own main. See where it goes.
There is a little blind spot on the top there that you could stick them in.
I think so. I'm waiting for someone to do that.
Here comes the dog.
All right, so it's a treasury. It's going to be an expansion. Interesting. So, yeah, Mystery Meat is basically calling out to Ramen, saying, you macroed really heavily that last game. I'm going to make sure that you feel like you can't macro as safely this time, and then I'm going to macro, right? And so, like, that's an interesting change there. He's still harvesting a lot of Vespene, as you pointed out earlier, so we could end up seeing Eidolons come out.
I honestly was expecting him to drop an add-on, like, immediately after landing, but maybe he thinks there's an instant push coming here.
Yeah.
There's only 2 vultures currently, but there is 3 more back home. And another inside the anchor.
Slowly.
Terrified of Ahmed.
Yeah, he's slowly whittling some of these down. The Watchdog Scout comes in and we'll start getting peppered by the Mavericks. So the treasury was sighted. This is the go signal for Ramen if that's what he wants to do. He has unloaded his anchor. No, he has not unloaded his anchor.
He should just bring it with him, honestly.
Oh my god, the mines in the background there. Brutal. No stims just yet, but he's going to go ahead and fix that problem, and we'll pick off one of those vultures. You really got to watch out. Stim Mavericks have some of the highest DPS in the game, so you can't just be taking fights with them. They are dangerous criminals.
Yeah,
and there's the Covenant.
Bait it and then leave it. Yep, there it is.
All right. Well,
Shambler has arrived, along with Luciferius and Alexander. They're sitting down and discussing the fine intricacies of the Torah inside the Covenant.
Oh, yes. Okay, I see what you're saying. I was like, wait, what? There's no burrowed Zerg unit here.
I mean, there's a burrowed lobster.
Hey, get out of my way. I'm trying to land. All right, I'll land here.
What is actually under here? Oh, there's 3. That's 3.
I kind of like the idea of you taking the treasury and like he's using it to scout, which is pretty good info actually. But I like the idea of landing to pop mines just to check, because when you land on a mine, it blows up. So it's kind of funny to think about it like that.
I think he was also making sure that there's nothing else coming in this direction.
Yeah.
There is a couple of them here.
He needs to stim those Mavericks. He can stand and take this fight, but his window of opportunity is starting to fall away. First Eidolon is sighted. That is going to be enough to absolutely get Mystery Meat out of the situation. There are no additional vultures coming. There is a single vulture coming in that anchor, but I feel like that's not that big of a deal.
Oh my god, he's on the way. The deadliest drop. It's like the deadliest catch, but he's going to drop.
Hey, we did have a StarCraft 2 Masters Tyrant join, and he's called Droptimus, so, you know.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what his name is. I was going to say...
Oh my god, the vulture! He's loose!
Oh my god, he's free.
He's gonna tickle!
Saved by the bell. Nah, the anchor's on fire. There's still a single lobster standing guard here.
The stim even kicked it and everything. Dude, what if this was like, if this was League of Legends stimming, and then the stim application would like cleanse debuffs, and so you'd like stim and run into a lobster, and then
Yeah,
you
and
know
then
what
they
I mean?
would like start playing voice lines, and then they would become invincible, and then the enemy's ADC would just die out of nowhere.
Yeah, probably. You were talking
And
about
then,
how the
like,
voice
8
lines are
item
cringe,
actives
but
would
I
go
think the
off.
voice lines are epic if they're actually good. Problem is, there's
Well, the
no
problem
good
is
voice
they
acting
get
in
lost
League.
and everything. Like in League, you can't hear shit when you've got 2 heroes fighting. In this game, when you've got like 80 Eidolons fighting like 3 Demiurges, you're not really going to hear too much either. It's just going to be people shooting each other.
Oh my god, that Maverick didn't
What
even
I think you
detonate a
need to
mine.
do is you need to revoice all the death lines, all the death sounds.
Well, a lot of them are not very unique yet, so we are working on it.
Yeah, you need to have like a dozen per unit. I can provide to you the high-pitched sounds I made for MMTG. Those were some of the best audio I'd ever made. I got so many comments about those.
The highest quality.
Absolutely spectacular. There is a vestry coming. I think Meat may be spurning tier 2 again.
Interesting,
But,
yeah. Well,
he
Ramen's going
does
for the
have
star
gas
pads. So.
stashed, so I'm sure he has to be intimately aware that the fact that he lost the last game in part because of the fact he did eventually get tier 2, but it didn't actuate into anything. And I mean, okay, he was killing lots of Magnetars, but obviously he felt like he couldn't do anything, I guess, about the nukes or whatever. It's not like he even had Wraiths chasing them around. So there was a very fighting uphill battle that Ramen kind of like allowed him to take a lot of mileage out of. When in reality, if he had just built a single diadem, it would have just, the game would have probably ended like 10 minutes earlier than it did.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm
I
sure
think
he
it's
is
safe
aware
to
of
say
that.
Ramen was very ahead in that first game, and it's a credit to Meat that it was as close as it was. But I do agree that the better plan would have worked out marvelously for Ramen a lot faster. Nonetheless, that's why it's entertaining. That's why we have these tournaments.
Now, here's the problem. There is still no Anseals. So, while his Eidolons can certainly do a lot of damage to these tanks if he can't get any sight on them, Ramen does have Anseals, and more importantly, he has mines everywhere. So, yeah, this is a terrible situation.
He's got to pull back before that Phalanx gets the deployment off. There we go. Okay, so most of the Eidolons stay alive. 2 of them do fall. You got to watch out for that critical mass. What is Ramen's game plan versus the Eidolons? He hasn't been tested in this fashion.
Well,
Third
he
base
can
coming
just
down for
advance
both
like he
players.
has currently, and like this is perfect because the mines alone have a good chance of hitting the Eidolons, and then if there's any tanks nearby, they're going to take a ton of damage, and there is no sustain in this group, so any shot like that is going to hit pretty hard. There is a Shaman coming, but yeah, still not a situation where your Eidolons, you want them getting stunned by mines, but...
Well, that being said, the move...
Ramen's army is over here now.
Right, yeah.
There is a world in which Meat actually manages to get a position here.
He's using that Watchdog for scouting. He's definitely doing good for that because the only anti-air is a couple Cyclops, and we know that those are terrible units that should get buffed because they're not very good.
Yeah, they're not very good. All right.
Oh, he's able to focus down the first Phalanx there. There's 3 more.
If he kills the Anseals, that can really cause Ramen a lot of hits.
Yeah, absolutely.
He is
He's actually,
poking them.
he's doing some good damage there. It does take some time for them to come back. Oh, multiple Eidolons down. You know, he had vision of that with the Watchdog too, but it just wasn't looking there.
Yep.
Still no detection actively
tough
over here. He's got to
Cyclops.
fall back as soon as those Anseals reveal. Yeah, because the Phalanx shots will start to come out. He's got his own detection with the Shaman.
What a strange fight.
Yeah, he doesn't have the
all Amin
number
can
that he
hope
needs,
to do at
right?
this point is slow down Ramen's advance, but he can't because the third is already up.
Yeah, that's right. And the third is made for Mystery Meat, but he's not actually used it just yet. Now he's going to go ahead and send the workers
But
there.
There's so many Ahmed.
Yeah.
There's a Trojan. Dude, I don't think Meat even cares about tier 2.
Nope.
I thought he might have been banking for it, but
All his
no,
Vespene is
he
gone.
spent his money.
Yeah.
It's Ahmed.
Still dancing around with these vultures, denying the traditional third. And maybe that's what Mystery Meat thinks he's doing in general. He's actually going to move in. If he targeted the right Anseal, okay, he still gets it on the way out. That was a little bit too close for my liking, but that Watchdog will get bopped. A little bit bold to try to build it there. And you know what? Only 1 Anseal left. I mean, each one of those is pretty
in Ramen's
expensive.
eyes, he's probably wondering why it's such a tiny group of Eidolons is still over here, but the fact that he hasn't moved in to squash it yet is giving Mystery Meat way more posturing power than he really expects, because when you look at Meat Space, you see the holy crusade of Ahmed
Yes.
has been unleashed the choir is singing as Ahmed single file charges down the breach. And he's going to find this treasury and this random mason. And they're going to enlighten him to the holy word of Ahmed.
Yeah, that's an immediate lift.
He's going to be positively glowing after this. Oh, my God. And he's
yeah, that treasury should not escape if Mystery Meat's on the ball. What's the reaction here from Ramen? Because this is a much larger force. And it's also, if you don't have active detection in the area, you might not know exactly how many Eidolons there really are in an area, right? So the actual strength of this army is still a question mark.
I mean, it's Ahmed. Ahmed is just
Speaking of, here's a couple drops here that are going to be queued up by Mystery Meat.
God!
Friendly fire isn't. And you know what? This could be the go signal. He's going to go ahead and unload a couple more Hurricanes directly on top of these guys. Shaman not in detection. Yeah, that's definitely going to hurt a little bit here, but let's see. Where's the rest of the army coming in from the left-hand side? Yeah, all the vultures are on the wrong side to try to save the phalanxes at this point. We're not talking about a lot of artillery left.
Oh, but they're not shooting the ant seals. So
no,
he's taking so much damage from the tank. There's so many vultures.
What are these Eidolons? Yeah, what are they after here? This is going to be a full wipe if Mr. Meat's not careful. He's got the Trojans. He could try to evac. Yep, there you go. He saves most of the important units. 8 Eidolons end up getting out, so there is that. Remember, with detection from the Enso, you can click on the Trojan to see what's up there.
Vultures do so much damage that when they're in that number, yeah, they can definitely just run into the Eidolons, and suddenly their damage is high enough that it doesn't matter anymore. But more of Ahmed's country. Oh no, the ant seal. It's okay. It's very beef. Very, very beef.
Let's see, because that move looked like it was really good for Mystery Meat, but it's he only had a couple of Hurricanes in each Trojan, right? So he wasn't really able to sustain the initial success he had burning the Phalanx line.
Both players are disgusting rich. The difference is that Ramen is capping and has tier 2.
Well, he's about to lose those ant seals if he's not careful. Focus fire wasn't really there, but one of them does go down indeed. Yeah, I think if Mystery Meat was a little bit more focused, that's a risky or a tough loss there, but if he had focused on the ant seals with the Eidolons, I feel like he would have had a lot more success with this fight in general, because then you're forcing the vultures forward, and then, the Hurricanes can try to tank for that, and so on and so forth. So.
There is an Atlas coming from Meat. He's not going to be super far behind Ramen on this, but his eco is going to be not as strong because
the fourth
Ramen
base
is one of the few players who actually caps his gas.
Right.
So, yeah, that means that cat facts are on the way.
That treasury got saved after all, it looks like, because the
Masons it got away with a couple hundred health, so he just repaired it.
Yeah. And he can't land this top left base here with that ministry he made a long time ago, Mystery Meat, because there's a 1 vulture there. That's a loss of an ant seal, however, so you know what? There's only 1 here. And it's kind of wounded.
Yeah, but his
as well.
army is so huge. Like the cat facts are so fat that they're very good in this particular matchup because he doesn't really have much sustain.
No, indeed, he needs that front line still. But he's thinned the herd on the vultures, and the phalanxes are too far away to really do much. Here comes the Hurricane drops.
Here comes the drop. Yeah, the
lobotomy count. Yeah.
All right, it's a David Goliath battle. The cat pack will be tickled.
He needs to unload those Hurricanes. There's 5 more in that Trojan. No, it died.
Oh.
All right, well, you know what? That was still pretty good sweep there for Mystery Meat. He kept most of his Eidolons alive, it looks like.
The fickle nature of the lobster costs Ramen a lot of tanks.
Yes, no kidding.
That went very, very well for Mystery Meat.
Finally can land that top left base. Let's see, he's going to go ahead and start adding some captaincies in the main.
The reinforcements, they're running into the firing line. They don't have detection.
No, yeah, there's no ant seals over here, man. So they're going to be able to reveal some of these guys just with the beef alone, but this is still going to be not as cost efficient as maybe he wanted to be, because he lost a lot of his front line there. But you know what? Those last couple of salvos, really, really good stuff for Ramen.
Catfax are so beefy that they can just walk in. They just have a lot of health. They have a little bit of armor, too. So, yeah, the Eidolons are not really good against those at all. Really needs to get in the holy army of Ahmed, which is amassing, but now his firing squad is dead.
Yeah.
And Meat's reaching the point now where he desperately needs to actuate some tier 2. And what we're seeing is captaincies. I really would expect to see Seraphs from him at some point, because there is no sustain in this army. Irradiate would do so much damage.
Yep.
And the Catfax can't exactly nuke down the Seraphs as they come in.
Yeah, they're not. They are abysmal at focus fire, right? They're actually really good versus bio because they can spread the damage around a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, Bio has a lot less health though, and the Seraph is just really, and it reshreds armor. There is a little Achmet drop coming in here, but they almost died to this Watchdog, so they end up dropping in front of some Sentinels. But this base is gonna have to evac.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that Mystery Meat can hold on. He doesn't really have any damage. It's all Hurakans all the time. But the Cataphract's starting to step forward, and without the Eidolons left alive to try to deal with them. Again, there's no detection here, but there was just not enough Eidolons, it felt like, for Mystery Meat. He has to concede.
Yeah, that loss on the ramp really gutted his momentum.
Wow, okay. A 2-0 start here for our newer Terran. Mystery Meat returning, finding it a little bit harder to contend with Mr. Ramen here.
Yeah, his early aggro he put him out a little too on the nose, got caught out, and then after that it was just beef. And yeah, I don't think the captain sees. He was making Heracles with them to have some front line, but the problem with the Eidolons is he only has 2 Covenants making them, so when they die, it takes so long to replenish it.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Ramen doesn't need a specific unit to hold that together. He just needs vultures, catfax, and whatever else. So he had a lot more production actuating, which meant that his losses didn't make as much of a difference.
No kidding, yeah. Well, we are now looking at, we'll say upper final point here, series point for TopRamen. He could take it on impetus, making it a 3-0. And Mystery Meat's been making these games close, but he does look a little bit outclassed. We'll see if that changes when we go to impetus for our third match. It's Mystery Meat in the top right. Oh man, I thought that color was completely different than I looked at it. Tyrian purple Terran. Oh, it's Cordovan. Fuck. And TopRamen in the bottom left, not the top right, despite his acronym, as the silver Terran in the bottom left. Hell yeah, okay. I got one, boys. Still 50%. Still 50%.
It wasn't platinum again.
No, that I haven't seen that color in at least a year, so it's pretty interesting. Guys, we have over 100 player colors in Cosmonarchy, and you can choose them, so that's pretty epic. Also, something that Starcraft Remastered doesn't have, just like everything else. Also, you are lagging. Sir, are you there?
Canada moment, boys! Canada! Canada! Canada!
No, it's still Canada.
Canada! Fuck this. Fuck.
All right.
Well, you know what? I can still watch the replay.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Okay, well, there you go. Even though we're not technically in the same game, we're still our
timestamps may be slightly different. It's 55 for me.
Oh, no, yeah, it's not that at all for me. It's
I waited to drop you because I thought it might recover, but the thing about Canada is there is no recovering it. It's over.
I dropped you way way later, so I'm at 1 minute and 10 seconds. So you're ahead of me by I think 5.
Similar. I think I'm actually ahead.
Yeah, you are. You're ahead by 5 or 6 seconds there. So that's actually probably worth a restart, TBH. But
well, you can just stream me, I guess.
Okay.
Canada moment.
Yeah, so anyway, that was silly. But we do have a Stockade opener once again for Mystery Meat, although it's in his own base and not in the territory of his opponent. It wasn't a quarry first, so if that was the gambit, Mystery Meat will have an earlier quarry than his opponent on behalf of going the Stockade route instead of the Fulcrum route. And look at this. Oh, yeah. Love that. Masons tickling each other.
Booty.
They weren't even attacking. They were just kind of chilling. Went for the Mason slide. All right, so the Mason
again,
gets
you
fast
going
enough.
for the Stockade here.
Yes.
Is it going to be Covenant again? Or is he going to... Oh, God, the coffee. Is he going to do a transition? He's trying to murder me is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, mysterious meat. Well, the Vulture's going to come out and deal with that scout before it can really do too much. I'm a little bit... I think Robin was maybe like wondering, wait, did you put something else in my base? Because he's kind of scouting in a weird location there. But
this is reminding me of some of those matches in the past on that one desert map where certain players just checked every corner habitually because you just know something had traumatized them earlier in that.
Yeah. Was that the 4-spawn one, Nitro
double
Valley?
Stockade here.
Mm-hmm. You're right. This is maybe a return to Wraith play, actually.
Oh, boy. It's a good call because it's always been Vultures.
Yeah.
And he knows he might try another Vulture bust, just like that second game. But it is going to take a little while to get them. And he only kind of narrowly ended up beating the Vultures the last time when he moved out. Meanwhile, The watchdog is coming.
I was
You know,
wait-
if he sticks that watchdog inside Meat's base on top of the star pad,
Yeah, what do you do
and then
then?
Meat pulls
Checkmate.
back all of his dudes to try to kill it, then he can get his vultures in there.
I do like the idea of taking your watchdog, and you could put it right here.
Yep.
Yeah, right between the star pad.
And then you either have to stop making wraiths and slowly kill it with something, or you have to pull everything back to kill it faster. And then the vultures hypothetically can get up your ramp. So there's some potential cheek that can happen there.
Yeah, it sounds like a
You know,
silly
what's
strat,
interesting
but-
about Ramen is he has a watchdog in his mineral line already.
He does, yeah, but he is going to get the scout off there. If there was a secondary stim, the watchdog might not have seen the star pads. Unfortunate there, but Mystery Meat's bluff is not going to be... Oh, he canceled it. I don't know what happened there. I guess he didn't like that
I don't
positioning.
know. He wanted them tighter, I guess.
Yeah.
But, you know, Meat has had his wraiths countered almost every single time he's used them. And then he ends up pivoting them into going to phalanxes.
Yes.
And they just give him map control.
It's more about the
So-
it's more about the tempo that you can accomplish when you have control based on them. And yeah, vultures can't really do much. You know, they're going to move around the map a little bit, but the wraiths can definitely start to get up to a point where they just pick them. You can even use them as a pseudo minesweeper here, like this wraith. Since he's decloaked, he'll know. Okay, you put some mines down over here. So yeah, works out. Cyclops and a Goliath are going to get rid of this one real quick. So
And it also changes his composition. Like, he's had to spend a couple hundred minerals onto watchdogs already. And he's going to have to spend more to protect his other bases. If
Yeah.
he starts mass expanding like he has been in other games, which is kind of the thing that's been getting Meat a lot in this, is Ramen's unit control has not been as good in many cases, but he doesn't have to worry as much about that because he's always had such an economic lead that the losses don't amount to the same way that he does, especially when Meat goes mass Eidolon and like 10 Eidolons die per army of Ramen. Hey, that's a
Yeah.
good trade for him because the Eidolons take so long to recover and they're very, very expensive. Meanwhile, Ramen ends up taking his third and fourth a
Yes.
lot sooner than Meat does. So the Wraiths can help Meat try to at least slow that down and force him to build units or defenses to actually hold those. And that can give Meat the needed padding he needs to actually start like grilling. And there is actually a phalanx coming from Ramen, so it's kind of like changed Ramen's composition ever so slightly into a very Goliath heavy with some Cyclops in there and then go for phalanx. But at the same time, this will actually kill Meat if he doesn't have some way to actually deal with those phalanxes. And because, yeah, he at some point it's going to hit a point of anti-air where his wraiths can't really kill those any longer.
yeah, he's actually gone for the Madrigal instead of the Phalanx, so it's a rare sight, but definitely one that is going to be an interesting choice since it does have that splash when it's not deployed. So let's see what it ends up doing.
Little love tap there. There is no sustain for this army and no sustain for the wraiths at the moment, so every pick here definitely counts.
Yeah, he's putting a little bit of damage onto those Cyclops, and the more, additional wraiths are on the way.
There are Mavericks looking around. See, I think that's Meat's plan, is to try to control these expansions a
Yes.
little bit. He's looking around to see if there's any early bases coming up.
And it's a good game plan. We saw, back when Neblime and Mystery Meat were the two top players, and everybody else was kind of just trying their best to be as good. Well, Shambler was in that mix too. Like, you wouldn't see this from... you would mostly see this from Mystery Meat and Neblime. They would always put like one or two units just in every
Yeah.
single base. And Mystery Meat's kind of getting back into the swing of that because he hasn't been doing that so far in the series. So seeing him back on that, definitely something afforded by going for the stockades. If you're, each individual unit matters more to you because you've gone Fulcrum, then you're not really going to be able to feel like you can get away with doing that. Otherwise, your attack force is not going to be very strong. As of right now, though, there is the opportunity for these Mavericks to get wiped by what's here.
Yeah, I think Meat has noticed the army is missing, and he's kind of looking for it.
Yeah.
And there is definitely the possibility for this to do some damage. He definitely needs to pincer this with both the Mavericks and the Wraiths at once.
Yes.
If he actually wipes this army without taking too much damage, it'll give him a lot of map control, but he has to be very careful about the positioning.
Yeah, he's going to go after the Madrigal first and foremost. He's taken a lot of splash damage from the Cyclops, however. So he's going to be forced
He does
on
have
back.
a Shame in there, so that it's very useful for him.
Yeah.
Here comes the Wraiths. They're picking in. The Vultures took a little bit of splash from the Goliaths, but his He's macroing his Wraiths, but the Mavericks aren't following. So, well, that doesn't really matter, though, because he managed to avoid all the Cyclops blasts.
Yes, that was the leading that he was doing with all of those Wraiths.
Yeah.
No opportunity to also grab the Mavericks in the middle, in between those actions, it seems like, but definitely pays off for him. And now...
That was very good for me. Absolutely what he needed to happen is wiping out that army before it gets to be too large. Now that puts a lot of pressure. Yeah, there's 2 kills on that dude.
Yeah, he ended up clearing one of the Masons that was sent over there at some point. So good stuff from the positioning as well. He's even going to go ahead and restaff it. So yeah, it's a good number of Goliaths for sure. Ministry now coming on, not on location. So Ramen already delayed by this.
He's coming for...
Yeah, I wonder I think he might be going for Cyprians here, thinking that that's going to be the option. Which is not a bad shout.
It's a little bit tougher of a nut to crack with Matt's Wraiths because he can't kite these anymore. And the Mavericks, although the Goliaths don't do a lot of damage, the Mavericks are not going to do too much damage to those either. So he's going to need to probably tank up here and hold out for a little bit until he gets some big numbers. But this does slow down that tier 2 a lot for Ramen.
Oh, the phalanx shots are going to be really big.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knew that the Wraiths were here during this. The Shaman's even going to be able to heal them. Stimmed Mavs are going to come out here, rejuvenated by that.
Yeah, there's some good picks there for Meat. Keeps this army from getting too big, but his Maverick count is not very large. So
he's all off of 1 stockade right now. It's definitely like an accessory to the push, right?
He's definitely transitioning to the Wraith Phalanx at this point, which is very scary for Ramen's current position because the tank mode Phalanxes can easily trade with Goliaths, and he's going to have a really hard time dealing with that. That's what Meat tries to do, just like he did against Veek.
All right, Wraiths are sort of patrolling around. There is a watchdog that was put up here. It might get sniped, but I don't necessarily know if I like this trade.
Yeah,
I don't think
he realized the army was there, so the trade ended up being pretty hard for him. Now, he could actually try to sneak his little grouping there forward if he really wanted to, but it seems like Ram is going to try to do a flank on him instead.
Yep. Phalanx is still in deployed. They are going to be brought down eventually. Yeah, so this ground force is completely gotten rid of.
See, he killed the sustain, though, so that army is very wounded.
Yeah.
Moving forward here, a lot of these Goliaths are like 1 or 2 hits from being dead.
Especially with all the phalanxes that are still up.
As it looks.
Yeah. Oh no, the magical front line. Not exactly what you want to see.
This cliff is really good for me here.
Even picks one of those on the way out.
2 tank modes, they take a lot of damage to kill.
Yeah, this is just from bad to worse. One of the phalanxes is going to go down, but that was pretty cost efficient. You ended up peppering down a lot of what was there. Now, the Ministry won't get canceled here as the sort of timing just narrowly avoided. Ministry going to go ahead and lift off and move out elsewhere. Instead of trying to contest this, though, the Wraiths are heading down. There was no Watchdog remade at the 3rd. This is going to be a great move for Mystery Meat.
Yeah, this is already invested in, but hasn't quite actuated yet.
Right.
So this is going to sting.
Yeah, he's thinking about. You saw him think about whether or not to cancel the, start lifting stuff off or what, but. Yeah, he can stay and kill the quarry.
He needs that. That's his soul.
Yeah, destroyed.
And down it goes. That's a substantial loss for him, and it'll slow down his momentum. The Atlas has started for Ramen. Catfax will be pretty good at defending against the Wraith Menace, but they're not very fast, so he still has to make sure he has something in those expansions to keep them safe. As said, that expansion is not destroyed. It was just slowed down, so Meat needs to be able to get back his own base and put in some momentum there. Some magicals here and a single Maverick. Oh no. Oh.
So those magicals have indeed escaped. They do represent a pretty good choice versus the bio, but the phalanx count is starting to get pretty damn high here.
Yeah, this army is starting to become quite substantial. It's there's a lot of armor that he has to cut through, and the Goliaths are beefy, but they don't do that much damage. So if Meat hits a certain amount here, he can definitely just force his way in. But there is so many Mavericks that a lot of damage will get wasted on Mavericks.
Oh, well, the Phalanxes don't seem to mind too much. The Shamans are going to need to be deployed if Mr. Me wants to hold on to this position, and so far he's not doing that. The Goliaths kind of changing their targets a lot, going from ground to air, back to ground. It's hard to call this one just yet because the Phalanxes are still mostly untouched in the back line here, but they tried to get a little bit too close, and they weren't fast enough in the process. Oh, man. Some really good splash damage there.
They were bundled up. That one cluster of shots did so much damage. Now Ramen's got to be careful with his rallies here. These are precious units to me. He only has 14 military units.
That's right. You know, Wraiths are still being made, but they are no longer the star of the show. Mystery Meat has transitioned into that Wraith Phalanx combo. And
there's so many
watchdogs here. But, you know, you're going to start needing to account for all the Phalanxes, too.
Shopkeeper Dog is making some big bank here. But, I mean, look at Meat's money. Like, one thing I'm noticing is that Ramen is capping gas when he hits tier 2.
Right.
And Meat generally hasn't been from what I've been seeing. So, well, that's one Phalanx dead.
Yeah, honestly, the lack of gas capping means that you end up getting a much less balanced economy at the end of the day. And
at some point, you feel like, oh, I got to make production to spend this. But then that also baits you into spending more gas you don't really have, and it slows your tech. And you can kind of see how Meat sometimes ends up in the situation where he's fighting Magnetars with Blackjacks.
Yeah. Pretty legendary move. He's even got reinforcement Mavericks over here to make sure that base doesn't end up going down. The Watchdogs have been revealed.
There's so many Watchdogs. He's like, what the fuck? Honestly, if he had an Ancil or moved that one thing forward and goes into tank mode, I think he just takes this.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got the one Phalanx to worry about that's actually been deployed. No, I don't know what happened there, but baited in.
Got pulled in. Yanked in by the hips.
He's killed 3. There's still like 7, 8. No, my God.
There's a lot of
way more than I thought
there. Holy shit. Dude did not want Wraiths touching his booty.
Starting to look a little AI-esque. Campaign mission, TopRamen.
This is going to be rough for Ramen because, well, the economic situation is definitely going into Meat's favor at the moment. This is the backbone he is winning off of. He is starting to clear out some of those forces on the west that have been heckling him, but he's getting pushed very tight on the economy here. There are catfacs on the way, but Phalanxes can fight, though, and they are already at such a number that it's going to be kind of difficult to deal with. There's a little bit of heckling going on in Meat's space there. But the Mavericks have arrived, although they are eating lots of lobster meat.
There's a bit of a more sizable force, but there's plenty of reinforcements for Mystery Meat here, so...
There's so many tanks there. I feel like if Ramen just builds starports, he just destroys this, but people seem very allergic to building Terran Air for some reason.
Yeah, unless it's tier 3, and then they'll build exactly one Terran Air unit.
Yeah.
Ahmed.
Well, he pulled all this out.
Well, at this point, Mystery Meat feels fairly confident. You know, he's setting up his 4th base over here. He can afford to pause production at the 3rd, since he's shutting down Ramen's 3rd so heavily. He's forcing a lot of lost minerals on the repairs.
There's only a couple of shots coming in here, so it might bait Ramen into thinking there's less here than there really is, because so many of them are in the back. And yeah, this is potentially going to suck.
I think this is going to be the close of the game, Mesk. I don't see how you could possibly get from this position. The Cataphracts, they weren't able to finish the job, and the Phalanx count is way higher. In fact, there's not really that much successful anti-air over here anyway, as the Wraiths come in. Oh, even sniping the last couple there. One Phalanx remains. A very brittle position. You were talking earlier about just tank mode and run in. Well, that's definitely something Mystery Meat can do now.
Yep. But, I mean, if he keeps all the Masons sitting here repairing this, it's not really a lot of money, but it is a constant annoyance. And he's not really sure what's behind here, so he's trying to just thin things out. But there's just so many dogs. They're all biting.
Mavericks have arrived once again, as well as some, this is the mechanized contingent.
Still harassment going on in Meat Space, too, in his 3rd.
Yeah, just like a couple of units every now and then. He's now setting up the base once more. Yeah, this is a much better game for Mystery Meat this time around. TopRamen was not... I think maybe he over-expected the Wraiths. Mystery Meat has a reputation there. And then Ramen goes for all these Watchdogs. The Cataphracts are a good choice under normal circumstances, but he doesn't have his usual Vulture Brigade, because obviously they would do nothing to deal with the many, many Wraiths. And yet that's just not what ended up working out for him.
Tanks end up killing more Catfacs. He can never quite hit a nuclear number of them. Now he has to pull more units over here to deal with those tanks. In this base here, while mining a little bit, is still draining from mining. Oh, this Watchdog is going to get blown up. Oh, maybe not. He sensed
finally an Atlas.
He's finally going for tier 2. Well, more Catfacs are dying. There's this wall of tanks over here too. Ramen is thoroughly contained at the moment. definitely getting squished. I feel like he desperately, desperately needs to get some Gorgons, some Seraphs, some Sundogs, something in there to deal with just this nothing but tanks.
Yeah, I love mixing in a couple of tank mode ones as well, just to deal with these pesky run-ins. I mean, like you just saw there, the friendly fire can be really debilitating. Can't really get this Ministry landed, though. He needs to uproot this Phalanx position, and you were talking about it earlier. There's not a single star pad in sight.
Well, there's a star pad, but there is a starport.
Oh, there is a
starport.
starport.
One there.
There you go.
He is getting a Valkyrie.
Okay.
Fuck
He's
these
really,
raids.
he's really, really concerned with the rates, but I feel like they are not the main threat right now.
Yeah. If you get like 5-6 Gorgons, they can fight the raids. And you can just pair them with dropping some watchdogs, and then, yeah, and then they can't even get away from you. Or just use it in the catfax.
By the way, you can use a Trojan to pick up a watchdog, and when you unload it, it's ready to go. It doesn't need to do any
Oh, you
landing.
can drop them on top of the tanks. There's your diving.
Your friendly fire, yeah.
Yeah. You bring him in with some of your heavier air units, and you'll definitely turn this around. And then suddenly, Meat has to be the one building Goliaths and shit. And now you can push out with tanks. There's some ways you can interact with this. And I think directly walking into the tank line and trading with it is probably not the best way to do it. Nah, he's just going to fight the Valk straight up. One Valk is not enough to deal with these. You need like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea for the Wraiths. It's just, what are you going to do after the Wraiths are dead, but you still have to deal with all the Phalanxes?
Yeah.
And there's so many of them. He's on 6 Fulcrum Phalanx production. Going for captaincies as the follow-up right now. So some extra bio. Still haven't used Apostles from either player. I saw some Madcaps
Yeah, I
and
was
some
just thinking
Heracles.
Apostle might actually be useful when he tries to dive you. You just revive everything that tried to dive you. Now you suddenly have a front line. Another Valk bites the dust. That's just a money sink for him at the moment. This Watchdog isn't even landed on the ground, so this base is finally uprooted. Meat is slowly opening the can of ramen.
That's right.
Here comes the wall of tanks. There's so many of them. Dude, Meat has 78 units, 80 units, and a lot of those are tanks. Like, this is a very expensive one.
He has way more Phalanxes than he has Wraiths, I'll tell you that much. And probably way more Phalanxes than he has Mavericks, to be honest.
He has hardly any Mavericks. It is mostly Phalanx, I'm pretty sure.
Well, there you go. That's the bulk of the military gone for Ramen. He GG's out after a 20-minute game. The Wraiths are enough to put Meat on the board. Got a lot more work to do, though, if he wants to go further in the upper bracket.
Yeah, that just secures his position from being eliminated. He has to do this another 2 times.
That's right, yeah. Otherwise, he'll be going down to the low bracket. The low bracket. And that's not where you want to put Mystery Meat. I mean, think about it. He's supposed to be the king. He's the most winningest player of Cosmonarchy he's ever seen.
You're going to traumatize all those people trapped in the low bracket. Think of the pain you're going to cause them.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. If an upset ever happens, and then you're like imagine if Hit 'em Up, or I mean, even in the case where Mystery Meat defeated Neblime, like Neblime's like the second rated player, seeded number 2 in the whole tourney, and it's like, whoa, you're gonna tell me that Neblime is out here as my first round matchup, like in the case of Hamster. That's what he had to. He's like, I've been defeated in the upper bracket by TopRamen. Okay, who am I facing against the lower bracket? Why do I hear boss music already? So that's basically what was going down there.
Yep. I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick before we do this.
Sure,
So,
yeah. We'll
I
take
mean,
the
you can
moment.
start if you want. I won't be that long.
So far, so good on that. I'll check in with the chat. We had AG Tangra, Ag Tangra, with a very nice comment. Shout out to you, homie. Hope you're doing well. Of course, shout out to Toyota Miguel, who just showed up. We had Lucy, Hamster, Hit 'em Up, Shambler earlier in the chat. Benno was here as well. I don't know if he's still here. And 3Crow even sent in a couple of messages as well. So, there's a couple of you guys. I see you guys. And shout out to everybody watching in general. Cosmonarchy wouldn't be what it is without a healthy dose of the community. Community monarchy. Yeah, something like that. So I do appreciate that. Rage Slave is up next, and it is a very interesting round, a very interesting map here. 3 spawns, the first of its kind for Cosmonarchy. port of Neo Rush Hour. Oh, there it is. The three. Man, that was really hard to say for some reason. Shout out to the pickup partner, by the way. If you need to go moving and you're on the Eastern Seaboard, talk to your boy Ben Tyberski.
I'm West Side, but if he's willing to make the jog,
hell yeah,
he can abduct me and adopt me.
He did
I'll become a
say
pet.
He said technically he's willing to move anyone to anywhere for the right price, and so
all right, I need to go to North Korea.
Yeah, that's what like Neblime said. Will you help me move? And that's what his response was. So that's pretty good. So we are going to Rage Slave for our fourth map. Again, you got to remember, TopRamen is on series point here, but Mystery Meat was looking pretty good in that game. If he can get the momentum back on his side, maybe we can see some action. And you know what? This is going to be a close spawn configuration. We've got Mystery Meat in the bottom left as, I'm going to say Blood Terran. Oh, it was Maroon. That was my other guess.
Annihilated.
And we got Ramen up here in the top, or the mid-right, as the Platinum Terran. Hell yeah, I got it right this time. Okay, we're still in this. We're still in this. 50% the whole way through. That's it. That's all I needed. Mystery Meat. He got him with the Wraiths. He's not going to go ahead and send the Pocket Masons out the way that he did on Genesis Y. What's his move in the early stages of this game? Ramen, meanwhile, are you going to go straight back to Quarry first? Is that really what you're going to do in game 4? Could happen.
I hope so.
He's got too much Vespene for it to not be the case. I'm already calling it. And it will be a Fulcrum opener here for Mystery Meat. No, it's a Stockade. He's going to keep his gas for a Quarry. Okay, so we've kind of seen the deviation here between these two players. Mystery Meat, a big fan of the bio. He did go mech one game, and it is a Quarry first for Ramen, who obviously, that's his sort of claim to fame in these sorts of games. Very interesting, very interesting. I mean, it feels to me like we just have such a... Like, everybody... It doesn't matter if we have... I feel like this is going to be the case for the game in general, by the way. But, like, say we have 4 top-tier Terrans, like Class 1 level Terrans, Mystery Meat, TopRamen, Hit 'em Up, and I guess, like, other than that, it would have been... I feel like I'm blanking on an obvious name, but I know Hamster was also here as that. So say we have that. Like, those 4 Terrans play completely differently from each other. And then you obviously have, like, the top Protosses, Arbuz and Neblime, Hit 'em Up when he plays Protoss. Like... all of those guys play completely differently too. So it's very interesting to see the playstyle differences. I feel like we don't have as enough high-tier Zergs right now. It's mostly just Shambler holding the flag on that, and he's switching away from Zerg after this tournament too, going back to Protoss. So, but like when Hapsea was around, and obviously when Shambler played Protoss, like everybody played very differently. So it's very interesting to see the playstyle differences show up there. And it's not a guarantee that something like that happens. So it's cool to see in this.
Well, everybody knows the proper way to play Protoss is just to make vassals.
True, yeah.
Everybody
I unironically think
poser.
that the vassal combo, if you went vassal Barghest Aurora or whatever, or no, vassal Barghest Clarion is what 3-Crow thinks. I think you could do the 3-Crow build and really, really, like if you've got good mechanics and you figure out the responses to early aggro with it, I feel like you could do some pretty good damage, man. I feel like that's a real thing.
I mean, you traumatized Ramen with Mass Vassal.
That's right.
It took him a very, very long time to actually kill you, and he had to build a lot of magicals to actually thwart it. So yeah, definitely much more viable than what people imagine.
This is a very long scout time for that Watchdog.
Yeah, that Watchdog, he's gonna be migrating. He's gonna be heading on down to the Silk Road, make some money down there, set up shop, maybe be a shopkeeper, you so to say. But he's gonna migrate first. BDB's helping him out there.
It will be the double pad Wraith. Yeah.
Brought over the kids, the wife, the beer.
And I mean, this Stockade isn't north enough to really stop that from happening, I feel like, this time around. You know what I mean?
It's Wraiths again.
Yeah, so the scout will come in. And at this point, Ramen should definitely be capable of adapting, right? So.
Well, I hope that he builds another 10 Watchdogs. I think he's going to need them.
You were talking earlier about, hey, put the Watchdog in to pull the units from the ramp. That could actually happen over here, but instead the Wraiths are going to go ahead and start flying over the Vultures, and they're going to start knocking them inwards. So these are dead.
So they're revealed anyways because of that, but they are coming in. They're coming home to roost. Oh, man, they're laying lobsters. That's like eggs. Oh, they died.
Yeah, I don't think these are going to get any worker kills out of it, but another one flies on in. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here. Ah, I died.
You got a Maverick.
More Wraiths are being dispatched.
Gains.
Meanwhile, back over here, double Watchdog already, transitioning into a Goliath. You know, it's going to be a while before those secondary Watchdogs are up, and a little bit before that Goliath is up. There's a small window where a little bit of ass pain could be inflicted upon Ramen here.
Yeah, but Meat can also inflict ass pain by just restricting this gnat for an extended period of time here.
Yeah, well, the one Vulture was a good decoy there, gave his life for the cause. Caw. That's right, that's right.
You know, Santa Claus, that's Santa Cause.
Santa's cause.
He's going to see a little farm of watchdogs here and be like, oh, okay.
Well, he's able to pick a Mason that was in the middle of some construction project there, but it is going to be just a little bit of light heckling. No star pad coming up for Ramen, so he's not going to have active detection for a little bit. Oh, he even gets him with the fadeaway. You know, that's actually not bad. I mean, it's not, I don't know if it's worth killing one Mason, trading one Wraith for one Mason, but it's a little, it's the message. You're sending a message.
I mean, look at the worker count. Ramen can afford to lose a handful of Masons.
Yes. Yeah, he's up by 10 still. Courtesy of the Quarry First and other shenanigans.
Meanwhile, Meat is saving up for what I believe to be, well, I thought it was going to be a ministry, but he started spending money again. He is looking to expand here. It is going to be a ministry.
And he's, you know, you think about all the watchdogs that were made.
There's another watchdog being built.
Yeah, there's 5 of them that have been made already. That's 500 minerals, you know, so it's not nothing. It is delaying stuff. And, you know, you can still end up losing the Mason building this. That's why he's putting down the second watchdog down there. So this has done its job in terms of the resources, the loss of resources that have been incurred. And I would love to see what Mystery Meat can do with it again. Rage Slave is the map where I think Rage Slave is definitely a uniquely equipped map for this kind of harassment. So,
well, if they ever start having to hunt each other's expansions on the left side of the map, it's going to be a shit show to deal with Wraiths across that, because the Guardians really can't chase them across that huge gap. And the expansions there are also quite vulnerable to being backdoored, and both players do like to do drops every now and then, so you could see some more airplay out of this in general. I think that Seraphs could turn that middle area into a complete no man's land.
Speaking of, a Shaman is already set up shop over there. By the way, that neutral treasury, if it gets blown up, you can't really harvest from it anymore, which, like, you can't put down a new one. It's unbuildable terrain underneath, so that's a little, we haven't seen that take into effect yet, but I kind of like the idea, because especially if you're Protoss, you can just use Artisans here. It doesn't matter what the presence of that is, so it may be a unique little piece of...
Honestly, if I'm Meat in this position, I just harvest from it.
Yeah, and he does. He has done that versus Shopkeeper Dogs, so...
Like, that was what Shambler was doing at one point.
Yeah.
Is you just harvest from this. It's 3 geysers. Like, you just get that tier 2, and then you get Sun Dogs. And then suddenly your Wraiths have become like 1,000 times more annoying. Or you get that tier 3 rush you always wanted. There's definitely so much you can do off of that, just taking 3 geysers. It's not even that expensive to do so. And if you get like 600 gas out of it before it goes down, that's quite a big investment. Oh my god.
Well, he's probably pretty worth there. He's going to lose 1 Wraith for 3 Masons.
Down, but he is being very annoying, and that's ultimately what his goal is to be annoying here. Meanwhile, Meat has taken the worker lead. We are going to be seeing the very similar build. Paladins are up, but Ramen is in slightly a better spot where he does have a significant number of Goliaths available, but is he going to make the attempted gank that he made the first game? Because that didn't go so well for him.
Also, I feel like the Wraiths are scaling up a slightly less fast. He has picked a Vulture. He can pick another one. There you go. Oof. Splash damage from that. Madrigal bringing a single Wraith down. But he does have the Shaman here for anti-splash, so he can set this up. He's even going to pull it a little bit further away so the ground units can't see. This map is actually pretty difficult to fight phalanxes on, because all of the spots that you could just heckle from a pretty far distance.
Yeah,
across these little ridges.
Into the ramps, if you can hold those forever.
Yeah, yeah. So that's definitely something worth pointing out. And Mr. Meat is going phalanx.
Yep, it's very similar to the last game. It worked very well. Ramen didn't really respond to it very well.
Dude, tell me you're fighting Wraiths without telling me you're fighting. It's just, there's so many watchdogs that get made. I feel like that's an element that could be exploited, you know?
Lone Mason comes down there. It's sniped out, but he probably can infer that nothing was there. He didn't see anyone harvesting from it, but
yeah,
there's the possibility he gets picked out here.
Yeah, the Wraiths are kind of just roving. They are in a pretty strong number, but each individual Wraith is kind of vulnerable. So, you know, it's not as fearsome.
He'll trade if he goes into this army, basically. But There is one phalanx out for Ramen. I feel like a single ant seal with his army would make him pretty strong at the moment. But the I like this floating watchdog here because the auto acquisition is taking the watchdog instead of the masons.
Yep.
And he's noticing that not only is there the floating watchdog, there's also like 30 other watchdogs. It's more like a watch pound at this point, a watch kennel.
Yes, that's right.
And the army manages to pick off a wraith as they're moving around here.
Utter devastation. There is an anchor full of Mavericks on the way over. Not very much buildable terrain towards this choke, but you can definitely entrench the phalanxes there. Wraith count has been very heavily managed at this point. Ministry for the third base here is going to be floated over. That's mineral only. Treasury on location, and another base going up immediately afterwards as well. So Ramen has a little bit of a better army, but he can't get across the bridge. Oh, no, his units are getting real stuck. This is not a good spot here, yeah. Peppered down that Madrigal pretty heavily.
Didn't even lose a Wraith for it.
Not yet, but his Shaman is still parked in the middle of the map, so he
Two
can't really
bases
heal it.
being dropped by Ramen, the third and the fourth. This is the thing that Meaton really needs to stop. If he has his Wraiths over here, they can't stop this. Which means that the Watchdogs are going to breed. They're going to multiply. It's going to be like the Middle East, where there's just roving wild dogs everywhere. And Meaton won't be able to do too much with it unless he starts sending over actual heavy armor. But look at this. He's coming. Oh, no, but they're being murdered.
Yeah, they were going for the gas in the middle. That's what he was going to do with these bad boys here.
Well, he'll get at least some gas out
Here's
of it.
the anchor.
Oh, the anchor's going to die soon. Rip. Yeah, it's a massacre. Well, two Masons survived for the moment. Oh, no. Oh, it's Jover. Just when he brought them over.
What happened to the
And
Shaman?
crucially,
Oh,
the Wraiths went south instead of north, so he's not going to see these bases. And Ramen, I think, is in a very strong position. Meanwhile, Meat has had nearly 2,000 minerals in the bank, and he was maybe hoping for a tier 2 spike here. Instead, he's
revealing his base as well with this worker rally. Ramen is definitely going to be able to jump on that. Small ground units over here are going to get pushed away. Not too much to say from that. But this army is still kind of scary here. Ramen's positioned aggressively. Not much over here in the way of stopping this, right? So Meat's kind of just calling his bluff.
Towards Ramen's base.
Hey, Meat is bluffing over here. This is bad, man. There's a lot of madrigals here. Look at the Masons.
Oh my God! Yeah, this is terrible. Only now does a Mason or a Phalanx show up on the ledge. There's so many mines here.
I love the
Shaman's just grabbing them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is really scary, right? Because at the same
almost
time,
defend against this, but his units actually moved out, and they're getting tickled.
I feel like Ramen's push is a lot more deadly, though. I mean, he shut down the natural already. Battle workers are out for Mystery Meat. And the Phalanx is absolutely impenetrable. Those Wraiths are not going to be able to break it.
Oh, the Masons died so horribly on that ramp, but Meat is his one Phalanx. No, he's got two of them now. They still kind of shut down this push a little bit. Ramen doesn't know quite how many are up there, but now Meat is in his base.
Yes.
And Meat is much more willing to pull up this ramp. It's a trade.
It's a literal ramp, base trade happening right now before our eyes. I don't think, this is a lot of dead workers, man. Don't show Neblime this set.
Man, this is violent. There's a single Goliath tickling this, what was supposed to be Meat's fourth.
Yes.
There's so many watchdogs. They're taking up the tank's attention for so long.
Here comes the reinforcements. The Madrigals get there first and deal with the last of the Wraiths. Only two more over here that are more in the base. Trying to deploy those Madrigals. Some of these units are kind of low, but the Shaman keeping most of them alive. How does Meat spun this? You know what I mean? Like, this is a way better of an end result than I thought he was going to have. You got to watch out for the timing here. Ramen moving in just as more units pop out of these fulcrums. Yeah,
he could save this. He could send one tank over there and save it, and then start mining from it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ramen is slowly forcing him out, but at what cost?
I can't believe what I'm seeing. The Goliaths are coming out here. They pick off the last of the Wraiths
the lobsters.
Not quite. Okay, narrowly avoided. Remember, this ministry is burning. It can just be saved at any point, like you said. He hasn't finished that ministry that he started at his ramp. And, the production is just way better here for Ramen. Yeah, sure, you shut down most of the workers at his natural, but you didn't really pinch the third. The fourth is mining with the gas. Ramen is in a better economic position. Battle worker. It died. But it gave its soul for the ministry.
Will he repair it? He has to repair. Repair it. It's on fire. Please.
Oh, no.
Mystery meat.
No.
Mystery
Yes,
meat.
no.
Mystery meat. You gotta repair it.
Oh, no.
You gotta repair it. It's on fire.
Masks. He's not repairing it.
Oh, no.
He's got one Mason inside his enemy's worker line. 20 health. No, meat. Meat, no. It's got 15
Meat.
health. No.
Meat. This looks like somebody's tier 2 burning down. Oh. What a disaster.
I think, you know, with his luck, the same way that he panned back on Maxium the first game to see a nuke land in his base.
Yeah.
Just in the perfect time. If he panned back over there to see that then, I think he might have just called GG there. Wraiths are going to heckle this 4th base. He's blocking the 5th with his Mason in the top right. Man, what a scrappy game. The worker counts fell, and the production is kind of idling because of the lack of money.
The Wraiths are getting pulled into the wall. The wall of dogs.
Oh, the Ministry died. He's going to rebuild it with a treasury instead. That's cheaper. He's never reestablished control of that Ministry that he started making at the top of his ramp either.
The Nat was rebuilt. It was never populated other than the gas. He's got a Ministry that's sitting on his ramp that is a quarter way built when he could have just finished it and dropped it somewhere.
Tier 2 on the way here for Ramen. He's stabilized enough to feel like he can do that.
He's building a stockade in the top.
Oh my god, it's going to be the longest block of all time. The Vulture's heading up to the top left to see if there's any other bases. Phalanx can sort of attacks over here. There's way more Phalanxes for Mystery Me, but he's got to beat back Ramen's position. Looks like maybe he's going to do that just based on intimidation alone.
Oh my god. It's going to probably make Ahmed.
Okay, the treasury's done at the 4th.
If he made some Eidolons from that stockade, it would be so annoying.
Yeah. Put an anchor down too. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could probably. Oh, maybe not with the. I was
you
gonna
could
say
stick
that.
him behind the mineral line there.
Yeah.
I think you might be able to fit an anchor in there, and it would just be really stupid.
The mines are revealing the Wraiths. The proximity cloaking not working out too hot there for Mystery Meat. His Shaman's been picked by a single Vulture. He's got 8 health. It's gonna die. Never mind. He pulled away.
Bye. A single Wraith goes over to defend this expansion that should have never died.
He can blame the Vulture. The Vulture is what killed it. I can't believe this. There's still more Wraiths being made, so there is that. What is Mystery Meat going to do next? He's still pumping the Phalanxes.
Ramen does have tier 2. He could, he is making a starport.
Aha! I have a stockade in your way. Oh no, it's being bitten by a worker.
No, it's biting. Now he's got to
Don't worry, here come the Goliaths. Just don't lift it. If you lift it, it will take more damage from the Goliath attack. They weren't even going.
The workers are being mined as they try to go to that 4th.
Classic move. So okay, I mean, I guess we have 4 mining bases for Mystery Meat, and so they're even on bases. Like Ramen's ahead by 18 workers, and of course he has got his Atlas.
Is still unfinished. Meat. No tier 2 in sight. Building a Ministry right next to this army from Ramen that's walking into the tanks and dying. Meat still may have his eyes on the center that was denied to him, the juicy center.
Reinforcement battle workers are tearing that stockade down, and Mystery Meat's repairing it. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it.
The battle workers are biting the madrigal.
The madrigals. They're coming out. You better watch out. You better not pout. Here come the Wraiths. Yeah, they'll pick the Phalanx real quick. I don't think he can actually deal with
the madrigal.
Yeah, the madrigal will go down, but I don't think this amount of Wraiths can deal with this amount of Goliaths, even with the battle workers.
Okay, he's got tanks coming. The workers are biting.
Battle workers. Biting. Battle workers.
Battle workers. The shaman has come to heal them.
There we go. I love it. All right. Saved. Wow. Safeguarded. Yes, the Battle of Eternity is
still biting.
Man, that is perfect. Mantles are on the way. Probably see some more cataphracts. He's already got the Valkyrie this time around. He's got the Valkyries coming. One of them's already out. A second one nearly done. A Phalanx drop is in progress. Remember, they haven't been nerfed on the release patch. See, they don't need to play their deployment animation. 5th base is now secured for Mystery Meat. Alert! Alert! More bases than his opponent. Alert! But how much damage can he do with this drop is the question.
More,
oh my god, 20 more workers!
Option.
Building a treasury on site. He's attacking the
they're
Mason.
fighting his Mason.
No, you can't fight the repairman.
No.
Okay,
oh, they're coming.
All right, okay.
He's queued up all the Ahmed in the world.
You could have done that this whole time.
Meanwhile, the drop has started. 4 kills.
Okay. How soon does Mystery Meat...
7 kills.
How soon does Mystery Meat pay attention? Oh, he's
9
biting.
Kills, they're biting.
He's going to battle worker it. So many of them are low. 12 kills. By the way.
Meanwhile, the tanks have encountered vultures, but they just pulled out back.
Yeah, Shamans are keeping them mostly healing, but yeah, that's a lot of dead Mystery Meat units. The one Maverick is stimmed. It is attacking.
There is.
It has so many targets. He does not know what to attack first. Here comes Ahmed.
Ahmed has arrived.
Yeah, there's another. Look, they're just chasing the workers that are returning remotely. So that's great. Atlas is.
The Maverick was brutally murdered.
He's ganged up on
These expansion battles are just absolutely autistic.
I can't believe this is so deranged. Here we go. Let's go. Get him, Ahmed. Yeah, and the stockade is taking aggro.
Ahmed has killed a lot of workers.
Holy shit.
Is returning the damage from the tanks.
Yeah,
however, Mina's forgotten to resaturate his Nat.
Yes, he did put it on his Atlas.
Just sitting there over its body.
Tier 2 is on the way for Mystery Meat. That's all we can say so far. More and more captaincies being made.
Mina's mining from the middle, finally.
Oh my god, wait. No, it's not going to burn down, but another Huracan is going to come out and kill that vulture, I think.
They might both get stunned first.
Gorgon and Valkyrie's out.
Ahmed. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Moments before death.
A battle worker with a bunch of wraiths. They're picking phalanxes in the south.
Yep. Nope. Pajit's got a stereo going. It's very loud.
Oh, no. Utter devastation. Wow, this is a surprising location for the final showdown, if this is indeed the one of Ultimate Destiny, but I don't know.
There's observe a massacre.
Yeah, the wraiths haven't really been over here.
I don't think he can push.
He's actually going to burn that treasury down, dude. It didn't get lifted. Ahmed's wrath claims another victim. Phalanx is still standing.
I can't believe that stockade is causing so much pain. It's wraiths versus Valks. He didn't have to fight this. He chose to.
He did, yeah. And you know what? The one Valkyrie is working out wonders.
Dude, that Gorgon has a lot of kills.
Yeah.
6 kills.
There's no other anti-air. He doesn't have anything that he can use to fight the Gorgons.
Is on.
Now Gorgons have come to punish Ahmed.
Meat's like, wait a second, you can build air units in this game other than wraiths?
Deployed Phalanx. It's going to drop somewhere, it looks like, for the natural. But don't worry, there's the Masons only now get tasked back on the natural just in time for another guy to come. But don't worry, there's
okay. He's got some tanks over here.
Yeah, he's actually...
It's almost as if he sensed its arrival.
That was crazy timing there. Quarry being made in the top left natural. More and more starports. We're finally going to have lots of air units. Man, the one shaman healing most of these... Or no, double shaman healing those phalanxes for almost eternity, it felt like. More and more phalanxes coming in. A couple Goliaths have been made. Adding mantles now. Okay.
Now a 35 worker stack returns to the scene of Ahmed crimes.
I can't believe
wow, that pathing. They like went in to squeeze between the two geysers before they went to the minerals.
Yeah, that happens. That's
the
weird.
Gorgons are on a rampage.
Oh, wow, the watchdogs are the answer. Yeah, look at that. In the middle of the map, there's just 2 Gorgons killing stuff.
Mina's in a position he's never been in before.
Ugh.
He's realized, wait a second, my opponent can build air units. How am I going to deal with this? Dude's building a lot of starports.
He needs to deploy those phalanxes, I think, to hold off the incoming attacks. Nice stun there from the random mine that was placed there probably a century ago.
The lobster paralyzed all the Gorgons.
That's actually pretty good.
Dude, the Gorgons in the middle
6 health.
Have caused
Kill him with
so
a battle
much
worker.
pain.
Battle worker. Oh, never mind.
They're killing everything.
Here comes another deployment.
Single phalanx is inside that Trojan, and it might just die to this Goliath.
No, it's not. The Goliath isn't trying to lead it. 6th base now trying to come online here. Remember, the 5th was really heavily attacked by that last round, and there's nothing to defend this treasury. But don't worry,
there's battle workers.
There's battle workers. Oh my god, utter devastation. And he's just gonna unload it over there. Ah, fight me, why don't you? Don't worry, there's a cleric to heal.
The cleric's gonna die.
It had 2 health. I was really surprised it didn't die already.
These
Wyverns!
friggin' Arianists are still causing him so many headaches. They've killed so many units, so many tanks. One Gorgon has 11 kills. One of the other ones that I think has died had a lot too.
Yeah, there was one down south.
Most of those were phalanxes. Some of them were workers.
Yeah. All right, so the phalanx drop has been dealt with. Top left, main and natural now being saturated by Ramen. He is going to stretch ahead in the eco game. He's got a single Gorgon denying the interior 6. Nobody's been ballsy enough to take those middle bases yet, and indeed the Trojan is gonzo.
Well, it is 194 workers to 96.
Yeah, and the base count is also stretching ahead here for Ramen, so it's not even like he's oversaturating his bases per se. I'm sure he is, but not to an extreme degree.
Let's see. What would Ramen do? Well, Meat has 2,300 gas.
Okay.
He could maybe angle for tier 3.
Still hasn't finished that ministry on his ramp.
He's making his own Catfax.
Yeah.
He signed up for Catfax on his Nokia cell phone. There is, however, a stack of, small stack of Wyverns, some of which are wounded. There's some other assorted air units. He could just make a lot of Gorgons and just brute force down this bottom part of the map very easily.
This is a base that Mystery Meat has no real defenses for, so this is going to sting. He's going to have to see if he can evacuate. The Ministry won't be able to leave, though, because of the Gorgon stacking their move speed debuff. So instead, he's going to have to trade, because he can't really face that army head-on, I don't think. The Heracles doing pretty nicely here. They're going to occupy these Goliaths and slow him down.
Yeah, and he's kind of caught in a strange position here. Where
his army's going to get cut off.
Can fuck him up.
He's been totally bisected. He needs to get some more units moved up here from his rally point.
There's a stack of clerics awaiting him. They're going to die miserably.
There are some phalanxes with this army here for Ramen, but you can see he's mostly pivoted away from the entrenched positions.
Oh, the workers. They're scared of the... I thought he was going to siege in the middle of them, but the Goliath warded him off momentarily.
Yeah.
It is actually going to kill this Madrigal.
Yeah, the Madrigal isn't going to stay alive there.
It's actually going to possibly do some damage to these air units here, too. Yeah, one down. If he repairs it, he can save this base. Oh, yeah. Even without repairing it, they're focused on the workers. He manages to save... He ends up pulling his workers unnecessarily. They were safe.
Yeah.
The Goliath killed everyone. Oh, the treasury is going to burn down. That's... Flashes to the past. You know, I want you to look. And then Rampin meets me.
Yeah, I know. I was just commented on that earlier. He still hasn't finished that.
Oh, that Goliath is dead.
That's been there since, like, the base trade attempt at the beginning.
The workers are harvesting
15 minutes into the game, dude. Yeah, the middle base finishes just in time to be destroyed. That might be the
slowly being
nail in the coffin here for Mystery Meat. He still does not have tier 3.
Slowly being overwhelmed here.
He's blocked the bottom right base, but really he needs that. He's got no others. Oh boy.
He didn't build nearly enough watchdogs. He needed another 10 of them. Hasn't he been paying attention?
Cataphracts are in force, but there's the deployments out of those phalanxes, and it's a shellacking of Mystery Meat's ground assets. The Gorgons keeping everything else at bay. Cataphracts not able to close the gap, and the Heracles tanking quite marvelously.
So many Catfax. Meat has learned about barbs today.
Yeah, those Cataphracts stayed alive for plenty of time here. And that's pretty much it for the army. Mystery Meat, it looks like he's going to be going down to the lower bracket. I saw people in chat calling for a game 5, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Yeah, this army, there's too much momentum here. Meat has only a few units, and most of them are Catfax. His eco is 235. Oh, some of them died in the middle. Oh, no, I see. He's got a little fork over here. Most of Meat's army is over here, but it's like pissing into an ocean. There's just so many bases.
Yeah.
Even if Ramen never defends this, he can still probably produce more workers and Meat can kill.
Yeah, he's actually set up pretty nicely here. Ramen's going to be able to push in and destroy the natural for the second time. He might even kill that ministry that never got finished. But no, GG's going to be called. Ramen will proceed to face Hit 'em Up in yet another TVT battle.
That was really silly. During a chunk of that match, I had a baseline from my neighbor who has some theater stereo or something that likes to crank it up so loud you can't even hear yourself talking.
Don't
I'm
worry,
pretty
we
sure
couldn't
that
hear
dude
it.
has very severe hearing damage.
He must. But you know what? It doesn't matter because TopRamen just won. And
Yep,
yeah, that's actually...
he had the baseline to Carnage. That was a ridiculous game. It was clear that Meat was so overwhelmed from like the very get-go of that game. It was just absolute carnage, and then Ramen started getting overwhelmed, and then Ahmed went on a rampage.
Yes.
That lone stockade, eternally repaired, turned into nearly a game-deciding point for him.
I know. Yeah, there was a lot of action in that one for sure, and it feels weird to say that that Mystery Meat lost a series. I'm just not used to doing that in the fill out for the sheet here, but yeah, that was a real thing, and now he's going to end up facing whoever wins our next set, ArbuzBudesh versus Veek7, a PvZ match coming at you. So, having seen Mystery Meat in action, I have to say he's probably favorited versus whoever he goes up against there, but it's a tough one for Mystery Meat to lose this set because it didn't feel like he got to use his usual sort of like tempo-based plays, even versus Ramen, who did go Quarry first in that opening match, right? So like his game plan on the second match kind of got foiled by it being scouted so fast, and even then he was able to adapt into something that did force TopRamen to show that he understands how to deal with the Eidolons. So I don't know. It was a cool set. It definitely had a lot going back and forth, and that last game in particular was just absurd. I can't believe that it worked out that way. That was crazy.
It was a massacre. Meat had such a the match that Meat won is the match where Meat went out to actually take control of the expansions, but there was not really a major point in effort for that across the series, which I think is what really costed him. Is Ramen was so accustomed to going late and just building nothing but Masons. And you saw what happened when Meat started actually trying to contest those.
Yeah.
Is they just started dying very, very easily. But Meat had some similar issues in this game where the Ministry was allowed to burn down and all these other things started happening they weren't properly responded to. So I think he still got a little bit of rust to shake off.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of like stuff that's to us very obvious, like hey, you never finished that Ministry on your ramp or whatever. Yeah. But it's like that's the kind of stuff that could just escape you. And would he?
Yeah, selective vision is definitely a problem, right?
Yeah,
like your eyes will filter out stuff you don't think is really important.
And it was real high intensity stuff in that moment. Yeah. That was when the base trade was happening. I can't believe that game really had everything, dude. There's so much.
It was just silly.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous.
Well, with that said. Shall we maybe take a short moment's break to feed and water ourselves, and then we will be back with our second set. So I'll say, what do you think? Maybe 10 minutes?
Sure thing.
All right. We will be back in 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be kicking off with one more set. It's going to be ArbuzBudesh against Veek7 after the break. Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back and continuing onward with our quest and our glorious tale. We're going to try to find out which one of ArbuzBudesh and Veek7 is going to make it deeper into the tournament. I will be joined by a Scatumesk very shortly, and we will get this show on the road for you guys. ArbuzBudesh is the highest ranked Protoss main that we currently have in the pool of players that play Cosmonarchy. You can join that pool by going to fraudsclub.com/CMBW and joining us by downloading the fraud launcher. I think all of that stuff sounds pretty good. I would go to the Frauds Club and download the fraud launcher and put that software on my PC. I would do that personally. I don't know about you guys. I hope you guys have been having a good time. We managed to see a very startlingly strong showing from both Tyrant players in Upper Semifinal 2. I would say some very back and forth games, just as dynamic as TopRamen versus Hamster. I was just surprised to see the outcomes be what they were, but it was some frenetic, crazy stuff. Some absolutely absurd matches. Some of the more memorable ones that have happened. And it's all in a mirror, but we are withholding the mirror from this point forward, because we will be going to a PVZ, so the other two races that are currently in the game. And yeah, it's not going to be a mirror matchup. It's going to be Arbuz, highest ranked Protoss, Veek7, Herald class player, the co-developer of the project, boasting a very strong understanding of it conceptually. Can he execute based on that? He's definitely a more macro-oriented character, but has he been drilled with the way that the Shambler, the other Zerg in the tournament, has attempted to do when it comes to Arbuz? I don't know. I'm not sure. Feels to me like it's something that Veek will have to think about. But I'll give you guys something to think about, and that's Cosmonarchy. It's pretty cool. Shout out to Luciferius, by the way, who was the admin for TopRamen versus Mystery Meat, using the name Food Fight. Very, very good. Very good. I believe it was Jujic adminning the Arbuz versus Veek set. Very good stuff there as well. I've really got to hand it to the guys. These games are a little bit on the older side in terms of the number of days and weeks or whatever that it's been. I should point out that the reason for that is obviously I had to move during some of these, and so there was no chance I could be the admin for these matches. Generally, I like to be spoiler-free on the outcomes anyway and like how the games went. So I try not to admin the tournament matches if I'm going to cast them, unless I'm going to live cast them, in which case it's fine, right? It's the same sort of thing. But to me, I look at the way that those matches went, and all I can think is, you know, I'm really grateful that we had the team that we had for that sort of thing. So yeah, shout out to Jujic and shout out to Lucy for adminning the matches we are casting today.
Now, I see a cold sweat.
That's right, Scatumesk. Welcome. I wish I was cold sweating. It's hot sweating here. I'm on the second floor of a building, so it's pretty humid. Heat rises.
It's very humid here still. Like it's not quite 30 Celsius, but the humidity makes it feel very warm. I've got 3 fans on right now.
Yeah, I've got one. I put the big one outside for the duration of the cast because, you know, audio quality XD. But, you know, we suffer for our art. We're used to that. You know how it is. But I will say...
Well, like I said, I got 3 fans on. I got a guy blasting a stereo behind me that is loud enough to cause permanent hearing damage for just a few seconds. I got the dudes above me that they were hammering together like... I don't know, like a complex sculpture or something for like 2 hours last night. Just bang, 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 bang all night long while I'm trying to do whatever. So, yeah, noise is just... When you live in an apartment, you just kind of accept being screwed by it.
Yeah, there's not much you can do in most of those situations, admittedly. So as we get a little bit deeper in here, though, ArbuzBudesh versus Veek7, what are you thinking? We've got Protoss on Zerg action. The other 2 races that are in the game, we haven't... obviously, we saw plenty of Tyrant just now. Arbuz seems like a strong macro-type player. Veek7's been trying the more aggressive stuff, and that's how Shambler was able to defeat Arbuz by, you know, getting against him and showing that if you move out, which Arbuz was kind enough to do, then, you know, Zerg can definitely overwhelm you. Are we reckoning that we're going to see something similar out of Veek, or how do you reckon this series will go overall?
I keep forgetting that Veek isn't Protoss, and I keep asking, why is Veek not Protoss?
Right.
And I think, okay, he was Zerg. And I was like, what did he do with Zerg? I was like, oh yeah, he 7-pooled every single game. I think it's going to be harder to catch Arbuz off guard with that now. He's definitely a player that will adapt a little bit. But I think if Vika is going to win, it's going to have to be an early game against him. Because, yeah, he's definitely a player that gains some momentum as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
He may not be quite at the Nablime point, but he's been able to beat Nablime at it before.
Yes. Well,
So,
I always
he's
think back to that
definitely
one
overcome.
match on Infinite Velocity 2, where admittedly Veek was Protoss against Neblime's Terran, but he's like one of the only people to bloody Neblime in a set, right? And then Neblime pulled out the 6 stockade and did all sorts of crazy stuff afterwards. But you know, still, like it was a pretty cool situation to see Veek be able to defeat Neblime. So like we know his macro is sound. It's a question of can he get there versus the gateway infused composition, the zealot ecclesiast spammer that you know, Arbuz is kind of he's really put the ecclesiast meta on the map. People were not making ecclesiasts to the same degree before Arbuz burst onto the scene back in the May Royal Invitational. So that's even before you returned to the project. So this is the reputation he carved out. His debut matches on his, I think, first or second day of ever playing the project, he was able to almost beat Hit 'em Up Zerg. He was able to defeat Hamsters random at the time, mostly just by using that. And then we did see on the tournament that was set on your birthday, it was Mystery Meat's first foray back into competitive play, and Arbuz kind of made it look easy just by spamming the Zealot Ecclesiast. Like Meat hadn't figured out the meta openers at that point, and so those games were over in like 6, 7, 8 minutes because of the timing. So we know Arbuz can be very aggressive and very successful with that aggression, which I think could be the ticket for him to win this set, as I would put him as the favorite. But at the same time, we didn't get to see much of Veek's action in the set against Hit 'em Up. You know, the games were a little bit more on the 1-no variety, you know, the 7-pool, and then the extra attempt at a 7-pool later on in the set. And then besides those, it was, you know, the Bactylisks didn't come online in time to deal with the things that Hit 'em Up was doing. Against Protoss, it should be a very different kind of composition, but still the same kind of timings do exist in terms of just in the time on the clock, you know?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is that there's not a lot of Zerg to really practice against at this point. So Arbuz may not be really like obviously the Zeth Worf caught him off guard, but he may not be really like if it goes into late game, how do you deal with late game Zerg? That's not something most people knew how to do with at any point, because it's not something you saw very often. I mean, how many games did I win by going to tier 3 Zerg? And I just knowledge check people. It's like they don't know what to do against this stuff. And one match I lost because maybe the Zarkavic core was bugged. Okay, but at that point it was still holding the line with like, what do you do against this? What does this even do? And that was against, I think that was against Shamler, who actually knew what late game Zerg was like. So it was still like, that's very unexplored territory. But at the same time, Veek doesn't really seem to be somebody who's going to be really like itching to go to tier 3. Like, honestly, when we look back to the Mystery Meat set against Ramen, it really surprises me that Meat opted to stay in tier 1 for so long. Oh my god, the host rage quit. And
no, it said you had a Canada moment. I'm still in.
It said you left. What the fuck is going on?
Canada.
What the fuck? Well, maybe we missed a drop screen there. But yeah, it's like I expected Meat to employ a similar strategies where he turtles to tier 3, but he didn't. He did the opposite of it. That's really strange. And that's kind of the behavior I would more or less expect Veek to do. But if it does go into late game, Veek is going to be one of the people who's intimately familiar with how everything works, since he's one of the developers. So I would feel like that he could definitely knowledge check a lot at that point if it gets to that point. But every game he's played otherwise up to this point has indicated he has no desire to go into tier 2, much less tier 3. He's just been hyper aggro all the time. But was that something specific to that set that he consciously chose to do?
Right,
Or is that going to be indicative of everything he does up to this point? I think if that's indicative of everything he's going to do to this point too, he's going to put himself at a big disadvantage, because I think Arbuz has seen that and will be expecting it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point to bring up that Veek 7 is in a situation where we don't know how his playstyle is under normal circumstances. We don't know if Hit 'em Up was normal circumstances for Veek. Obviously, he came in feeling like he was almost certainly going to end up losing. And then he was able to surprise him in the first match, and then wasn't able to really feel like he was still in the series after that, despite getting the first match as like a surprise with a rush win, right? And so I'm not sure how he's going to do against Arbuz, but I say we can figure it out on Cold Sweat for our first map. You ready to get started with our second series of the day?
Yep.
Let's do it then.
I'm just finishing my biscuit.
That's right.
Because I have some British blood in me. I gotta have biscuits every now and then.
Every now and then, a biscuit won't kill you. Or will it? ArbuzBudesh in the top left has the, Ultramarine Protoss? Zafir. Zafir. And in the bottom right, we've got Veek 7. Ah, man, this color is such a pain. It's not chestnut, but I'm going to guess chestnut. And it was chestnut. Hell yeah! Veek 7 in the bottom right is the chestnut Zerg. So, we have with us Cold Sweat. This map was selected by Arbuz. This is a map made by Veek 7. I just wanted to point that out. And map 2
is making a point here, huh?
Yeah. So the bans here were Oblivion by Veek and Maxium by Arbuz. So those maps are completely out of the contention. Map 2 is going to be Paradise, selected by Veek 7. So we will get a 4-spawn map in here. Map 3 will be Genesis Y. And then the follow-up maps, Rage Slave, and our decider will be Impetus. So if we go all 5 games, Veek 7 will have an opportunity to win on 2 of his own maps. Bookending the series with maps he made.
Okay, but he isn't 7 pooling. He's doing the Shambler build.
Yeah, he's going to go for the Larvosk here. Gotta have a big shout out to Krankendow, by the way. He invented the Larvosk opener. He was doing math and he figured out, wait a second, it's better than the hatch. And so people were doing hatch at ramp, and then Larvosk was just there for free. Like, Neblime won in a meta where nobody was doing Larvosk. Like, how much more OP would Neblime have looked in Necropolis #1 if the Larvosk first had been discovered earlier? Just saying.
Well, people were building Larvosk first back when it was still tier 1. And then it moved to tier 2. And then it phased out of existence.
Yeah.
And now it's back into tier 1.
Yeah, but people just looked at it and thought...
people just didn't want to do it because it had gas. Then they're like, no, I got to build Quasi-Zeph. So they didn't really want the gas. But, I mean, you're still spending 300 minerals on a hatch. That takes longer to build, I think. And, yeah, it's still not really something you want to spend your minerals on when you're already going to be behind on workers. So it does make a little bit more sense. It's still less aggro than a proxy stockade, but it looks like Arbus is going to be going for that Ecclesiast first, tickling this worker very slightly. Yeah.
He needs to really make a move there. Yeah, there is a scribe in the bottom left. Gonna eventually probably start harvesting from the ridge or whatever. Get a little bit of a minor extra bit of gas.
Some Zeths are coming, but he'll have 2 Ecclesiasts up. Should be fairly safe here. He's got a Zealot just about halfway done. These will hit before it finishes, but I don't think they're going to be able to do too much against 2 Ecclesiasts, but he may be just checking for a fast expansion. Not normally Arbus' style. Sometimes he gets in kind of an early base, but he usually gets the 2-gate lattice, and then considers expanding after he's got a little bit of a standing force.
Yeah, that's right. You
to the Penegate that Neblime did.
Yeah, you ended up casting a like a 2-hour-long set of their PvPs, Neblime and Arbuz. I do want to remind people that is on the board for this. If Neblime beats the Shambler in the lower bracket, and Arbuz beats Veek and Mystery Meat, who he would face if he beats Veek. That, I mean, it's a lot of ifs, but that could actually be a matchup that we see later. So I just wanted to point that one out.
It'll definitely be interesting to see if that happens and if they play the same way, because I'm really expecting them to do different things.
Right, yeah.
They played fairly similarly, but Neblime did pull out some kind of different stuff, and every now and then Arbuz would change his like mid-game order, but I really definitely got the impression that especially Neblime was kind of like fishing around to see how he responded to certain stuff, but also hiding certain things. So it would be interesting to see if they do some really off-the-board shit, or if they just kind of like have a gentleman's agreement where they're going to do things very, very standard. So I definitely like in the last match too, and I've pointed this out a few times, is in a lot of these games I'm noticing people are not very defensive about their bases. Yeah. But Neblime is the exception to that. He's very, very defensive. And I even saw him go like triple matrix cannon opening. And he will do that when he goes for a fast expand. He'll just wall up, and he's very, very rarely lax on defending his expansions. But a lot of people are very lax about defending their expansions. And that means that they're so open to drops and things like that. Proxy, the phalanx is being dropped and stuff like that. And it never gets punished in a lot of cases. And I feel like when you're reviewing the replays, you have to be constantly making notes of this. And it is actually Hydras.
Yes.
The Hydra Vassal combination, but I think Arbuz has this.
No, he's got
very, very
way more
heavily
production
dominated.
right now, and he's been pumping the units for a while. So the move out feels a little bit erroneous. Vik is going to end up losing a Hydra and need to think about how he's going to riposte this attack with... He doesn't have any real front line. There's no Zero Cores or anything like that. And I would have thought maybe Lake would have been a great choice here to deal with the, Zealots nullify the healing of the Ecclesias because you're doing so much splash. As of right now, though, it feels like... Yeah, Arbuz is just going to charge over here. There's no defenses. It doesn't feel like the Hydras can really do enough.
When you see all those early Ecclesias like he did when he first scouted, and it's like, oh, okay, it's going to be Ecclesias. He's probably going to get Zealots. Like, it's just a safe assumption at that point. The Hydras do not pack the damage to cut through this. They don't even have armor penetration. So, much less with the Vassals randomly dying and giving him a buff, it's just a really, really difficult line of units to punch through. And this is why you need to either do so much damage to them on their approach that they can't kill you, or you need a really, really, really heavy front line. And he did manage to finish the circuit here, but it's going to get bursted down right away.
At least
finally
the front
gets the
line's
last
gone,
of the Zealots. Yeah. And it's costly, but he hasn't lost his expansion yet. So Vik is still in this, but Arbuz is very, very happy with those trades. He thinned out so much of the units. He wasn't able to kill the expansion or anything like that, but he was able to prevent the Zerg from getting any kind of large critical mass. He's got his expansion down. He hasn't needed to build any defenses there. We see the Ardent Authority is on the way. That very easily could be in a Cantor. It could be Architects. He has done both. Definitely should be thinking about Bactylisks at this point because it's going to only be upscale from here.
Yeah, and his Kagran is not going to finish anywhere near in time for this attack, but he does have more Hydras in the right spots. He's also pulled some of those Zealots off to the side away from where the Ecclesiasts were repairing, so there's not really much shield restore that can help Arbuz with this fight. In fact, most of the Zealots go down, and so too do the Vassals, battle workers in position, but they are not going to be required for the surplus to those requirements.
These Ecclesiasts have a lot of kills. They have a lot of kills. They actually do more damage than the Hydras do. They think they have a shorter or a slower attack rate, but their burst damage is higher because they have 1 armor penetration. So that's important against the Hydras, where if he has short bursts back and forth, he'll actually outtrade the Hydras. So you have to be very mindful of that. Definitely want to be thinking about that, either a stronger front line or Bactylisks at this point, because unless you're actually eliminating all the Ecclesias, he did kill a few of them. The Protoss' army will actually continue to outscale you in terms of burst damage, but you are less tanky than him, so you can't fight him on burst. Which means that Protoss is going to keep jumping back and forth like he was, and you're either stuck turtling, in which case you don't have any map presence, or he's just going to eventually wear you down, and then you will die. So it's very curious that because just opted into mass Hydra, but maybe it worked out for the better in the end. Although costly, it has kept him in the game, but now the bases are equal. He is indeed starting to morph the Hydra den so he can get some of those Bactylisks, but moving out is still a long ways off for him. There isn't a Cantor coming now, as well as an Architect, another Gateway. Some Draconins out for even more ranged damage. There is indeed an Envoy on the way, so there'll be an attempted drop. Looking at Vik's space, the main is very, very vulnerable to this. There's only a Spraith in there, which would stop the Vassals, but won't stop the Cantor. The Cantor can also be used in the army. A lot of the games that we watched versus Nablime, it wasn't very effective, but there is at least one game where the Cantor lived for a very long time and was used both for dropping and to immediately bring it back to the army. And it had like 19 kills or something and ended up dying very late in the game. So it is something he does play around with and you have to be kind of aware of. But this could be really, really bad for Vik. On top of it, one thing you may not think of is if the worker line is too hard to do damage to, you can just target these Larvos. They're in a little cluster.
Yes.
You can kill anything morphing from them. That can really hurt a lot. And that can be just as effective as dealing with the worker line. But he's actually going to just drop it right in the middle here. Instant shot is 4 kills. The next shot went to the eggs. The Zeths are kind of swarming him. He can't really pick it up easily here, but he may not need to. 17 kills immediately, 18. The workers are using this Spraith here as a wall. He's going to grab it and pick it up and bring it over.
Yep.
Hey guys.
Oh, but it does target the Spraith instead, so not as effective as it could be. Remember that V can just immediately remake workers here, but he's not doing. He's kind of floundering on the reaction.
23 kills, 24 kills. There's 1 Hydra. The workers are going to body block. Oh, the hatch body blocked it. Oh,
that works out.
That last shot could have been really bad, but the hatch did block it. But man, that Cantor paid for itself. It killed a huge chunk of Zats. It may have killed some eggs, it looks like.
Yep, and a couple of the,
it killed a lot
the
of
workers as well, yeah. So he does lose the envoy, so it's going to be a while before he can redo that, if he even wants to redo that. A second Ardent is up. It's going to be Architect behind all of the gateway units, which is not a bad shout, but you remember the front line is a little bit fugazi from Veek. He doesn't have like a really, really tanky one. He made one Izira core. He's got some Vorvs, but it feels like he doesn't really have the dedicated front line of like a lot of Izzies or a lot of Zoryus or anything like that. And he only has a couple of backs here as well, so the splash damage is not really going to be great. Remember, this fight was taken by Arbuz before the Architects even showed up. His front line's mostly gone now.
Yeah, but his range is going to out-trade a lot of this. If Veek can reinforce this, he can do a lot of damage. He does push it back, but he's just got the backlist left. Oh, Arbuz's units get kind of caught on each other. That's a precious bit of damage he's done there. But the Architects are alive. They're definitely the most dangerous part of this. As they continue to stack, this army will become more and more unapproachable with anything but backlists.
Yeah, and he can use Vorvs or other sort of frontline units if he's able to get to the right moment there. Because what he can do is he can use them to intercept the projectiles, and instead of going after the juicy units in the back, they're going to be going after Zeths, right? So that's kind of what Veek wants to do in this situation, is throw the chaff at him.
Right. Mass Zeths, yeah, that can work. But it's still very much in the favor of Arbuz coming out of there, thinning out that army and keeping the most expensive units alive. The Drakkenins, for the most part, and the Architects. He's actually making some shoes here. Every now and then a shoe shows up.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually pretty good to like buffer your gas spending. You get those servitors out in the middle of your more expensive units that you make, and they hold their own, so it's a good way to keep your throughput on the structure going. There's also been detection on the army for the most of this point here from Arbuz with his Witness, and so no Avaleth to counter-detect and just pop it. I'm not sure he's seen it yet.
Yeah, the Witness wars between Nablaim and Arbuz is always very funny. Every now and then Arbuz gets a little lax on the Witnesses because they die a lot to Nablaim. Nablaim is very good at sniffing them out. Yeah. Because he's doing the exact same thing. But in this case here, Arbuz is getting a lot of mileage out of them, and Veek isn't even making any effort to actually deal with those. But they're pretty much all the Protosses are going to be building embassies early at this point, so I think it's like you're kind of just going to be making obelisks, and you just assume that they're going to be there because, well, it didn't stop this expansion from getting ganked, though. But
yeah, I love the inclusion of Vorvs here because it is going to reduce one of the armor of the Nexus, and that means that the Zeths are dealing most of their damage. So that ends up being pretty effective, right? It goes down to 3 armor just from a Vorv attacking it, and then the Zeth is dealing most of its damage there because it has 2 armor pens. So it's definitely something that was worth it, and that was the only reason why that Nexus was destroyed there, or forced to cancel. And you know, that's good because Veek wasn't keeping up in pacing with the base count.
There's the rogue galleries. Arbuz is like, shit, I've got a lot of minerals. Yep. It's time to make vagrants.
Sure is.
It's just like playing against Nablaim. Very similar.
Yeah, so far he hasn't really had to deviate.
For the hobo fights.
Yeah. Zeth getting slaughtered by the...
And I feel like the vagrants are actually more valuable against Zerg than they are just against Protoss, because the main thing that Protoss lacks against Zerg is bodies, which means that the Bactalisks get a lot of mileage out of bounces. It's easier to surround them, but the vagrants can do well more enough damage to actually kill units in this case, because a lot of the units are like very squishy. The Zeths are pretty easy to kill. Oh, these defenses are not quite able to...
Yeah, not in the greatest spots. Even a couple of units going into the natural as well. I don't think it's in enough numbers to really do too much, but it's getting a couple of worker kills here.
It's a little annoying.
Yeah, main army fight at the same time happening, and this position I think is better for Veek. The front line already melted here. Arbuz not able to proceed forward.
The Architects moved in instead of attacking, so they wasted some precious time while his units were tanking. So he ended up taking kind of a lot of damage off of that trade. It didn't really give a lot back.
Veek's army is getting a little bit split here, and I don't think he's going to be able to reunify around here. He can try to pick those Wardens at the very least, but the Engram is doing really nice to clear all the Zeths that would otherwise be absorbing so many of the Architect shots. Now their kills are going to start racking up. The Warden over here not actually destroyed yet in the third either.
There's so many Architects. Like, this is almost unbreakable for Veek.
Oh, he's drawn his units in as well.
To the Engram. They're just like moving in here, getting murdered. And as a result, a lot of Veek's army gets annihilated by that. And the bulk, the most expensive and important part
Oh no, but look at the natural. Zets were in there for so long, and they've eviscerated so many of the workers.
Some of them had 8 kills each. Like,
That's
it was
pretty
a lot
good.
of damage that those did. But these architects are still alive. If he can kill these, he's good to go. And Arbuz is letting him. He's tending to his net. Dude, he's losing the architects. This is big.
Yeah, a couple of them do end up going down.
to lose a few Hydras for this. That's a good trade for him.
Yeah.
Because if those get to too big of a number, he just can't fight it. But if he keeps them low enough while he's expanding behind it, then eventually he's just going to have too many units for Arbuz to deal with. But he lost so much in that initial fight. There's still a lot of momentum behind this.
Well, the Architects are still 5 strong, charging forward with Zealot Vagrant as their front line. A couple Servitors mixed in for the buffer. What are the Hydras going to be able to do? It was all Hydras reinvested. He doesn't actually have any Zets or a couple of Zero Cores over here.
The Basilisks are all dead, so he's back down to just tier 1 here, and the Architects are quite happy to deal with that.
Oh my god.
They have to take so much damage to approach them. This is what I mean. When you have a whole bunch of them, they just deal so much damage on the approach.
Yeah, and he's kind of just been, he didn't secure too many more units. I wonder if he did a macro cycle of workers or something in between that. It doesn't look like it, but he is going to try to evacuate the workers to his 5th base over there at the 3 o'clock position. He's got a lot of hatches over here to tank at the very least, so he's not in danger of actually losing the base. And he's still up in terms of macro. So if he can slow things down and mass up enough of a number, he might be okay. But yeah, he's not.
I don't think he's going to be able to. His eco is actually not that much better than Arbuz at the moment. And he has only a handful of units and nothing really being built. He's finally starting to make some backlist, but his money is drained, absolutely drained. It's 32 to 10 military units, a chunk of which are running past here and about to die.
Yeah.
He needs like 50, 60 units to approach these Architects and actually kill them.
Well, he's making a bunch of Zethar cores, so I think he may have figured that out, but it does feel like the window of opportunity to kill these Architects before they became too protected is maybe passing. One single Zealot at the 6 o'clock as well, starting to wail away at the workers while the Architects continue to shell out. Hydra's dying before the Basilisks can even go in, and it feels like Veek has been deflated. His Hacharosk has fallen at the 3rd base. He still has 4 mining bases, but it's more like 3.5 after that Zealot killed so many. Workers are even being evacuated, but, I mean, they're just going to die to all the Architect shots.
Yeah, it feels like Veek is attacking these too few numbers. They're just sitting here at the moment.
Yeah.
He should have waited for all of his units to be bunched up together and ready to go, but they came in little tiny groups of 10, 12, and then they died, and now Arbuz is pushing forward, and Veek has nothing to defend against it.
Yeah, a couple of small tier 1 units sent over to the natural and to the 3rd, but it's not nearly as successful as the first time around, and Veek has to call GG. I felt like he just kept spending money, and he didn't have a game plan to get out of tier 1 into tier 2. That's sort of what I've noticed so far, is that Arbuz was able to obviously leverage the fact that Protoss don't have tech tree requirements. He just goes straight to his Ardent Authorities. His rogue galleries get added on afterwards. You know, fairly standard stuff as you know, for all things, all intents and purposes there. And so, looking at it based on that, it's a little surprising that Veek stuck it out like that in tier 1 for so long. He did go for the Vornath pawn, which is not very expensive, but he also went for the Basilisks, which can be pretty pricey on the gas, and felt like, to me, at some point he needed to transition into like maybe holding the line with just a lot of Izira core, Vorva core, stuff like that, for the purposes of having the mineral expenditure while you bank the Vespene. And he only needed to do that for 1 or 2 rotations, but instead diving for the Architects, I can see where it makes sense. I think that did lose him a couple too many units there.
Yeah, Veek had some momentum there, but unfortunately when he dove the bases filled with defenses and Architects, there were so many Architects, he got nothing out of it. He lost a huge chunk of his army. And then that kind of like killed his momentum, and everything after that was just units trickling into the murder machine. Arbuz had a little bit of an oopsie where some Architects died because they were out in the open and just kind of getting attacked. And maybe that gave Veek a little bit too much of an encouragement to do that again, but after that, when the Protoss regrouped, there was nothing he could do to approach that. And every single time he did, it was with a very small number of units that would just get killed over and over and over again. And at the same time, even though he had more bases than Arbuz, he only had a few more workers than Arbuz. So his eco still wasn't in a very good spot to actually support a major growth. He just didn't have the money to rebuild everything, and everything he was rebuilding was dying. So it just turned into a vacuum that sucked him into it and flushed the toilet. So
no more cold sweat in the map pool. Arbuz takes it. We're going to Genesis Y for Game 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing what... I'm sure there's some kind of aggressive play that we can see out of Vik here on this map. ArbuzBudesh will be our green Protoss in the top right. And Vik7 in the bottom right. Ooh, is this Cordovan once again? It is. All right, he's the Cordovan Zerg in the bottom right. Hey, so far, so good. Now, even if I screw up the next one fully, I'm still 50%. That's good. It's all good. Zaffer.
It's not a 7 pool, Vik.
Hey, come on, dude, live up to your name.
You got a 7 pool every game.
Vik7
You got to show this man what a real cheese looks like. You got to proxy hatch him.
Representing Clan Dev is, of course, Vik7. The homie. I don't know how... If I wanted to actually play in one of these tournaments, I really don't know how we would even get it broadcasted, you know? I'll just cast my own game.
You would have, like... I think Hubsaya could broadcast it. And I could talk to him about, like, Stormgate.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because he seems to be a big fan of it.
Wars! With a Z.
I don't know what that is.
That's the Celestial hero.
Wait, you mean that's what it's at? Something's actually called?
Yes, it's a character named War Z.
Fucking God. What the fuck? How do these people ever manage to secure funding? Like, what kind of fraud is going on here?
I know. That's a good thing.
The
we're
games
the
industry
no
is such a joke. Jesus.
Yeah, I think as soon as the petition included the word wars, it's over.
Well, Vik doesn't seem to want to do any cheese today. This looks like it'll be fairly similar to the first game. I think Arbuz is going to look at that and be like, yeah, I'll just do the same thing again. Won't be surprised to see Gate into Lattice once again. Worked fine the first time around. There really wasn't too much danger for him in that. Although, I'm sure he's looking at that fact that the couple Zeths just massacred his Nat was definitely something that is not very common to happen. He did get some mileage out of the Cabalist against Nablime. Nablime had a similar oopsie-daisy in one of their matches where Arbuz was able to kill a very large number of workers with just 4 Cabalists.
Nice.
And then would attack again with them later on and do even more damage. And yeah, it's... these players are not very accustomed to having their bases harassed like that. Even though it's one of the things you see that happen a lot in low level, it seems like in high level, once people become more macro focused, they stop thinking about ways to really like heckle and cheese a lot.
Too busy focused on their own game,
yeah. Mystery Meat was very infamous for that before when he played Tyrant. It was just constantly backdooring. And then the Blime kind of became the same way with the ultimate hell that was the Ahmed drop. Because it was like never a wrong time to do that. But ever since then, it seems like a lot of people have become very, very, very comfy about not being really heckled that much. And I mean, Arbuz and friends will do like Candor drops and stuff like that, but it's not very common, so devastating it actually ends the game. It's not like hyper committed. You're not seeing a lot of like double a Candor drop. You're not seeing like, okay, this Candor drop was successful, I'm going to go right back into it. Right? So you sometimes will see them build it a little bit later on, in part because it's so expensive and also because it's kind of risky. So there's a certain risk aversion to devoting a lot to it. You will see like the triple Cyclops drop. And again, player skill level at this point is pretty high that most people will pull. But I mean, that Cantor did a lot of damage last game. And it's definitely something that he would be thinking about. But also, he took a lot of damage from something that was a lot cheaper to perform. And it's definitely something to keep in mind, is that there is definitely a vulnerability there that hopefully Vik took notice of and maybe can take advantage of later on.
I mean, it just makes sense to see if you can abuse the same kind of thing. Is Vik going to respond to it fast enough? Is he even going to scout what his opponent has? And so far, he hasn't really been doing that. He's generally been pretty good at scouting where the opponent's military is with the Zeths, but he hasn't built the Ovaleth. That was something that allowed Arbuz to know exactly where the military was for most of that game as well, remember, because the Witness was positioned so nicely. Hydroth is going to get scouted yet again. And we'll have to see.
There are some ticklers here. Protoss army is already at a stage that could deal quite a lot of damage to Vik. And the Circuit doesn't actually block this ramp here. So a world absolutely exists in which an early bust is attempted here and is very, very dangerous. But if it doesn't come right away, then these Hydras will be up. So I think just the time travel encourages Arbuz to wait a little bit. He'll kind of sit back. Might see that Ardent Authority even start to come up before he moves out again.
Yeah, if he's going to do the same game plan as before, we could definitely see Ardent. Double Ardent, actually, by the end of that game. He really knew that he was relying on those architects to get ahead in the game.
He doesn't seem quite as intent to try to deny the Zerg their Nat. So the Spraith placement is kind of interesting in that it's
Yes, protecting more the tech.
sort of there for the Cantor, but
Yeah.
it won't stop Envoy juggling. The Envoy will just fly past it.
Yep.
So
Towards
the
bottom
juggling
right.
will be a lot less costly if that's what he decides to go for.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Matrix coming up as well, the extra defense inside Arbuz's main. It feels like both players are a little scared of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's definitely doing something a little more defensive at the moment. Almost Nablime-like, but not quite as invested. This gives Veek much-needed breathing space. And I think he needs it.
Indeed, indeed. His Zeth will scout ahead and see, indeed. Matrix is up, Nexus is up. I think even with its low vision range, it would have seen the Nexus there. So now Veek knows, okay, your military is on that other side. I can safely take my expansion. It is kind of weird that Veek was kind of self-contained for so long.
Yeah. He was expecting that attack that he had in the first game again, but Arbus has opted out of doing that. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe because he saw the circuit, but
Yeah.
I mean, he probably figured maybe Hydras are going to be up before it comes, so there's not really too much point trying to test it. I wasn't able to end the game the first time. But thinning out Veek's army in the first game still had a lot of momentum benefits to it. So now we're looking at a stage where Veek can go on the offensive, and he has a lot more units this time around. So this definitely can be very dangerous, although his worker count is not as high. So if this ends up failing, he could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, he can't even really actuate those workers right now anyway. What is the focus target here from Veek? The answer is not the Matrix so far. It's getting a lot of mileage keeping these units healthy. And now the army alone can deal with the Hydras and units here. And Veek, he realizes that, man, bungled the timing on that one. It's going to be GG. And Arbuz up to a very quick 2-0.
Yeah, it looked like Veek could have been able to do a little bit of damage there, but he needed to be able to pick a target and kill it quickly. It had to be the Zealots, had to be Vassals, had to be Matrix, had to be something. Matrix probably not really the best target to go for, especially if he's just going to go back again. But like I said, Ecclesiastes will outtrade Hydras because their burst is higher. And if he goes back and then comes back in and isn't able to get actually the full DPS out of the Hydras, then the Ecclesiasts are going to alone outburst them. But the Hydras are attacking Zealots that are getting sustained for a chunk of that, which means that you need some other way to equalize the damage output, which normally would be like Vorvs and Zats to surround and split them up and maybe put some damage on the Ecclesiastes in the meantime, get them to split their targets. But that didn't really happen, especially because of the choke point. So Veek funneled in a choke point and then ended up funneling out, and then I think a Vassal or two died and the Protoss got buffed, so that was also going to be more stats he has to deal with. And then he just got ran over.
Well, it could end up happening again. We are going to Paradise, though, and this is a 4-spawn map. So we're not going to have that same treatment that we had in the first two games, where it's just immediately determined who is who and where they are. It's actually even cross spawns, which is very good for a more macro-oriented match. We do have Veek 7 here in the top left as the vivid red Zerg.
That's bottom right.
Yeah. And ArbuzBudesh.
No, that's Zerg.
What?
I got very confused for a moment.
ArbuzBudesh in the bottom right as the... I mean, it doesn't matter. I already won. I already won the color guessing game, but I'm going to say it's a forest green Protoss. Oh, it's dark green. Well, that's okay. Doesn't matter. I got my 50%. Or I'm above 50%. I'm passing on the colors. You guys believe that?
I don't believe you. You definitely confused me a lot. I was really confused. I thought the Zerg was Protoss for a moment. And I was looking at Arbuz and I was like, is that Zerg?
That's
because I looked at the colors and I just like baited myself.
Fairly fast scout. I have noticed Arbuz does like to pylon scout, right? So, in some of these matchups, a little bit slower on the 2-spawn maps, but oh my god, I found another Biddy tile. Dude, Paradise has so many Biddy tiles.
Tile bees. There's one in that nat too.
Yeah, the one that's actually it's Veek 7's nat. It's never getting fixed. It's like for part of the furniture now, you know. Gateway coming for Arbuz. Nothing out of the ordinary just yet. This is a seemingly a slightly tighter build for Veek, but not by much. It's the same sort of thing. So he does not feel like
7 pool.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like it. I mean, maybe we'll get it later if he's able to turn the tides, but kind of
sometimes
a tough,
I have to wonder, like, if he's gonna go straight to Hydra,
right?
Why not just build that instead of the Quasi?
Yeah, so I've actually created a build for Hydrith opener. It does require you to go Hydrith and then Kagran for your Larvosk. So it's a little bit different than what people have been doing. But you can...
I get he's worried about being aggro, but Arbuz didn't bother to aggro in that game at all.
Yeah.
If he's going to make the circuit anyways, then why not make like 2 circuits and then skip the Quasith and then just build a Zero Course?
I think specifically versus Protoss, it wouldn't be too difficult to pull off the Hydrith first. However, once you're done with the Hydrith Den, I don't really know what you make. Like, I think you still need Zeths and Vorvs to deal with the Gateway army. I don't think you can amass a critical number of like Hydra Izzy or something.
Yeah, but if they've already gone Ecclesias first and have a whole ton of Zealots, I feel like you need so many Zeths and Vorvs to actually sustain a fight against that, in which you're constantly sustaining them, that you just don't want to give them the fight that they want, and you have to play the game differently, because at least in Veek's case, every single time it's coming to that, he ends up paying such a huge amount of units to beat that composition. And then the ranged army ends up being the one fighting it out and killing it anyways if he does manage to push it off. So it always feels like he's losing that trade going for that. Unless you go extremely heavily into Zethvorv. But then you sort of enter the stage where, although he can get ahead on bases, he wasn't really that far ahead on actual workers.
Well, this time he's going to go Vornath before the Hydrith. That's a bit of a deviation from the Game 1 game plan, and I think also it's something he didn't do on Game 2. Arbu's going for double lattice, though. I think he wants to go for a vassal-heavy comp, which is, surprise, surprise, the perfect move versus someone who's going for the fast Vornath. You can go Naths here, but you don't really want to be spending your gas on the units out of the Vornath generally with this kind of opener. Veek looks like he wants to maybe channel the Shambler and go for his heavy moves with the Zeth sort of push.
Somehow Arbuz has the perfect Hepsiah counter.
Yeah.
Taught from the crow himself from up on high. Just build nothing but vassals.
Yeah, Vassal Ecclesias, too. I mean, the vassals will never die. This random worker is out in the middle of nowhere for Veek. I don't know if that was intentional.
That's Shambler, but he's having a cup of tea first. And this is going to be disgusting. What awaits him but a horde of vassals? That said, he has so many Zeths and Vorvs.
It's going to be a while.
If he's actually able to kill the Ecclesias, it's going to take them a while to actually kill them.
Well, here we go. This is the attempt. Veek 7 trying his best to charge up this ramp. Some of the Zeths getting caught on each other. Yeah, finally they're going to eat through the front, but he also reveals that it's mostly vassals here, so... he's going to get that last Ecclesias. No, he decides to sidestep it.
The one Ecclesias survives.
He's the banner carrier here. He's carrying the flag. Banner hand. Okay, immediate double Kagran. Screw my mining. I don't need efficient mining. I just need Spraiths. That's what Veek's saying. And he will be going for some Quasis. The vassals are going to descend upon him like a flock of
so many
angry
vassals.
crows looking for the trash cans.
Man, the fact that we have a huge dumpster here. Well, it's not even really that big. I see people stuffing couches into it, and one couch takes up the entire dumpster, and you're literally not supposed to do that. But
yeah, of course.
Canada. And there's no crows destroying it.
Oh no, the Quasis! They've been destroyed like crows. They are the trash cans. No, Adrolev! Well, it's looking a little bit dicey, and those Spraiths do not protect the Larvosk, so... That could be the target if Arbuz was an enterprising individual.
Forever contained. He will never leave this vassal hell.
Now more Quasis are in production, but that Larvosk is definitely going to be picked off if Arbuz wants it. He could have a Nexus on the way. Natural almost done and operational for our Protoss player. He's once again in the driver's seat. Yeah, there it is. That's the target. And look at the Quasis. They're struggling to get around. He might try to make him pay, but that's one vassal for a Larvosk. He'll take that trade.
Oh, dear.
Nather cores. That's going to be the answer. They're not too bad versus vassals, but you do need to kind of keep him forcing.
A lot more than what he's going to have.
He's going to have 12.
Especially if the new vassals come over, he's got way more.
Yeah. I think he'll be able to comfortably get rid of all of these with the Naths that are going to hatch. And then he obviously
fight them with the Quasis.
There's no static defense back at home, right? So that's another thing that's kind of going to help out. He's not going to see the Nats. The Nats could just leave. Like, they could just go straight to the other side and counter push, which I do think is a great choice here, actually, from Veek. So he's also leaving with all of his Quasis. He has the Spraiths in the right spot. He didn't decide to rebuild that Larvosk, so yeah, I mean,
he is going to catch part of it.
He's going to see the move out is starting. What do the Nats end up doing as a response?
Nothing. They're heading down. Veek just wants to hang him up here, maybe do a little bit of damage
Yeah.
as the bulk of his army comes down. But there is more vassals and more ecclesiasts awaiting back home.
Yep, so they immediately start descending upon that warden. The ecclesiasts helping to keep it alive, but here come the quasis pressuring in from the other side. Nats are going to charge forward. They're going to occupy and start damaging those vassals. But the front line, it's holding strong thanks to the ecclesiasts. And that is it. GG. Arbuz has held on. The gambit, that was multiple gambits back to back.
Damage off during that.
Yeah.
It was attacking the Nats the entire time, so it was just killing them. Just not quite the positioning that Veek wanted.
No, that was a real like it was kind of close, but the way that the art engagement happened did not favor like the way that the Nats came in right from the north, then got stuffed by the ecclesiasts healing the warden. And that, like that whole thing didn't work. If the Nats just went to the main, they could have been so much more effective there. No static defense, no units. And then the quasis could have like pressured the ground army where, we can overwhelm your warden if you bring the ecclesiasts back or something. So I feel like Veek jumped the gun on that attack. There was an opportunity for him to do some damage and stabilize it. I don't think he would have had kill threat, but he would have maybe reset the game to a more even status. And unfortunately for him, he was not able to make it happen.
Still fighting quasis in the back.
Yeah.
So it was like two little fights going in.
Well, that is it for our series today, and Veek will be eliminated from the tournament. If he told him he's only going to win one game the whole tournament, I don't know that it would have made sense to tell him that it was against Hit 'em Up. His first game, actually, in the tournament. His first game was his win. That's surprising. That's not the way that you'd think it would go, per se. But nonetheless, that means Arbuz will be facing off against Mystery Meat. Remember to have the Protoss versus Protoss dream, that where the 2-hour plus tour, where multiple games were played, multiple tours were played, and Meska's casted one of them already. We would need to see Arbuz somehow defeat Mystery Meat, and I say somehow because that's a tough opponent, right? That's the kind of person that you wouldn't expect that Arbuz would necessarily be able to do that. He did do it before, so I maybe that's unfair characterization. But Mystery Meat just in my head is such a terrifying figure. An imposing menace, an effigy of Ahmed. Like, who could stand against him? And we did just see TopRamen do that, but which non-Terran player could stand against him? I'm not sure.
You gotta have Shambler come in and try to 7-pool him every game and start typing.
True, the typing is where all of his strength lies. Speaking of, Shambler will be playing against Neblime. That's another classic match, throwback. But Arbuz versus Mystery Meat is brand new. I don't think I've ever seen them play against each other besides the tournament games where, again, like I mentioned earlier, Arbuz kind of just used Ecclesiasts and Zealots and defeated timing that didn't end up working out for him. So, yeah, I don't know. Looking at it that way, you'd say that you got to kind of throw out those results to some degree because Mystery Meat has been grinding out a lot more practice. So yeah. I don't know. I'll give the nod to Arbuz. He's been playing for a more consistent amount of time recently. I'll say he's still the favorite, but that could be a 3-2. That could be either one taking it. That's a tough one to call with any element of security. Like the way that I was saying, damn, Hamster versus TopRamen. That's a tough match to call. Anybody could win that. Like, that's the same way I feel about the way that we saw, like, the Arbuz now going up against Meat. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty cool. We were talking about this the last stream, too, Mesk, is that the lower brackets of these matches are sometimes, like, more competitive than the upper brackets of previous tournaments, right? So it's getting pretty tight here. The competition is getting pretty tight.
Yeah, especially if it's, like, a matchup, like, Ramen versus Meat. Meat might have, like, some idea reflecting on that. How to win, but now he has to go through the lower level to get to that point. So you feel like he might be trying a lot harder now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like changing up his practicing regime.
Yeah, I mean, Mystery Meat's not accustomed to being in the lower bracket so early. The one time it did happen was a 5-game set against the Shambler where Mystery Meat was playing random, and so that's obviously an element of instability to that. So that's one of those situations where you look at it and you think, God damn. How exactly would you go about navigating this position? He's admittedly not been in this spot too often, but he has. That was a tournament that he won at the end of the day. He did go through the lower bracket and defeat everybody, including, I believe there was a Shambler rematch where Mr. Meat was able to be victorious. So, like, it is one of those things where, okay, well, we know that he's capable. Going into the way that this bracket looks like, we do have the lower bracket on your screens. Again, Mystery Meat versus Arbuzbudesh, the freshly minted Elimination 2A match. That's going to be coming your way somewhat soon, I would say. And, the Shambler versus Neblime on Elimination 2B. Mystery Meat shocking the world by defeating Neblime with his Eidolons. Not able to make it happen against TopRamen earlier, but that does mean that Neblime is in the lower bracket very fast, right? And so we were kind of joking about that earlier, how Hamster must have felt having to go up against Neblime as soon as, second match. That's not what you would expect. Going over to the upper bracket, though, we do have the upper final decided. It'll be Hit 'em Up against TopRamen. More Tyrant versus Tyrant. Winner goes to the grand final. Loser goes to the the lower final, and awaits the winner of Elimination 3. So we do have some more games to be played, but we are getting to that. We're past the halfway point for the tournament. We're getting to the waning end. And I was not exactly sure, Mesk, when you thought we might come back, but I feel like we should have the availability to do that fairly soon. So maybe on Monday or something like that would work out for you?
Yeah, it should be. It's all I have to, I just have these random shipments and shit every now and then. Right, yeah. But my game's on Wednesday, and you guys played your game.
That's right, we did.
On Friday, right?
So it was, yesterday, last night. It was very entertaining.
So that must have also had some TISM involved, I imagine.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that's one of those things. I'm going to be producing a video for that. I'm not exactly sure how I'll do that, but we can...
Did you want me to cast that? Is that something you think I can cast, or what?
Well... Let's talk about that after I close the stream, just so that we remain relatively on topic. But I am interested in something like that. The matches that we saw today were very interesting. I'd say it's a bit of a pity for Veek that he wasn't able to do it. However, I will point out something must have stuck in his craw, because Veek7 did come in after this game was played. I'm pretty sure it was after this series was played versus Arbuz. Veek went in and patched the update timer for the pathing. So. Or whatever that thing was that makes it so that units path a little bit more responsively now. So that's available on pre-release for people to test. That is even in defeat, he is victorious in my book. That's Arbuz defeating him here in some ways made him investigate something about pathing, because he was just so tilted by it, or so not tilted is too strong a word, but miffed about oh man, I really wish the units weren't stupid.
Very being angry is a lot more productive when it comes to development than a lot of things.
Yeah, it's God damn, this sucks. I'm gonna fix this, and so he did. So yeah, there's all sorts of interesting things in the cooks, in the books, and waiting to be put to use. Some of it is publicly available. Others, like the moving psionic storm, is on the way. So
how's that gonna work?
So basically, the Cantavis will channel to keep a psionic storm active, and we'll be able to recast it to tell it to move into a new location. So, pretty interesting stuff there. I haven't decided on the specifics just yet because I got to play around with it and haven't been able to with all the D&D prep, but pretty cool stuff. So we'll see how that one goes. Obviously, as much as a code, what would you say? The programming side of that was very, somewhat difficult to make happen. But if it doesn't end up being a gameplay improvement, we are probably just going to shelve it, obviously. But I kind of want to try it. I want to see how it goes. So I'll be interested in getting the Protoss players' opinions on it, because I feel like the skill expressivity of it would be that you have more opportunity to be cool with it and to do cool things, but it requires a little bit more focus, and maybe we increase the damage slightly. Or this would also because it's contingent on a Cantavis remaining in the area, which will take into account units inside transport, so you can try to do storm drops or whatever, but then you won't be able to relocate where the storm is going, right? It does mean that we should be able to make it deal damage to buildings, which we haven't been able to do. I just don't like that that's a rule incongruousness. No other spell doesn't damage structures. You know what I mean? Plague and Irradiate, all of these things, all of these ability effects, they damage structures. So it doesn't make sense to me logically why Storm shouldn't. But I wouldn't be able to actually change the balance of that if we kept the current paradigm. So that's just a pet peeve of mine as a designer, trying to think about how to fix that. But that's going to be coming. And of course, the slight economic update here will also be coming in, where it's going to be a little bit less impactful to saturate with a third worker than it is currently, which is going to hopefully incentivize faster transfers, more bases in that sense, and a slightly like less one base plays in general. So I think that'll end up being a pretty good improvement as well, but we'll have to wait and see how it shuffles out. There's a lot of things that I kind of want to do. I was thinking earlier, just thinking about like, not just because of the series that we just watched, but in general, I was thinking that I would love to see Hydralisks get a movement speed buff and see if that makes them even more useful as like a hit and run type unit or what have you, and like a real focused on micro type unit, repositioning around.
Up and run.
Hit them up and run. Yeah, exactly. So, there's things that I'm thinking about and things that are in flux, but things that are also dead set, definitely going to happen. So join us for that soon enough. And on Monday, we will be back to cast the upper final, Hit 'em Up versus TopRamen TVT. And I think with any luck, we'll also be able to squeeze in those elimination games that are in the lower bracket, see which one of Neblime versus the Shambler are able to proceed further, and as well as Mystery Meat versus Arbuz. I'm looking forward to how all of that is going to go. So for my money, in my opinion, looking at the way that this is all working out, the Tyrant's Tale is shaping up to be a pretty damn competitive gauntlet here. So yeah, I'm interested. This will be, Hit 'em Up wasn't tested really by the Shambler. I don't know if he'll be tested by TopRamen. That's another story. I feel like this is a pretty good first opponent for him, or not his first one, but if we had to say that this is the opponent that could do some damage, because Veek 7 pulled and got a victory, but Shambler wasn't able to do the same. Now he's up against a Tyrant instead of a Zerg. Can Hit 'em Up survive unscathed? He's obviously the favorite to make it through. Can TopRamen do the unthinkable? These are kinds of thoughts that we're going to have going into Monday. So I hope you guys will join us for that. And with that said, Mesk, any final words?
Well, it's 13 minutes past 4:20, so I think you already should be smoking weed every day.
Classic move. GG, boys. We'll be back.